All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is Friday night, and you know what that means. And yes, you are seeing double because I am back here on Sportswire Radio once again, as we are now on LinkedIn. That's right, LinkedIn, sportswireradio.org, our brand new affiliate Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube to talk all things related here in the world of wrestling. And a lot going on in wrestling right now. And I'm excited about this because I've got here my resident analyst here of all things related in the world of wrestling. Also in our Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, even dabbled a little bit in the world of the wrestling business, and also is the host of the Hockey Fan Chat, Mr. Randy Dillon. Randy, I have so many questions after what I saw on SmackDown. I'm going to try to hopefully, certainly get your perspective on it. And how are you tonight?
I'm doing good, Tom, but a lot of emotion going through what we just saw on SmackDown. I can tell you that much.
Well, I mean, my first question to you, Randy, is did I just see Cody, in a way, give up his shot to finish the story, but then at the same time, The Rock giving his endorsement to Cody being the guy? And I mean, where do we go from here when it comes to The Rock, SmackDown, Roman, Cody, and where we go from here? Because I have so many questions and I need so many answers, and I don't know if you're going to give them to me all in one shot.
I'm a little bit like, I know the majority of the people are, yay, Rock versus Roman, gonna be a great match. I'm on the opposite. I don't want to see Rock versus Roman. I want to see Cody versus Roman round 2. And here's the big reason why. A lot of people are not really understanding this. If you get Roman versus Rock at WrestleMania 40, most likely Roman's gonna win. You're gonna have to wait another full year on less injury of him holding the title. And I don't think anyone can expect that. Everyone wants that moment, but no one wants the backlash. My only hope here is either Cody challenges Roman at Elimination Chamber and pull the John Cena, what John Cena did to Randy Orton in 2008, or if Rock and Roman's going to happen at Elimination Chamber, or somehow they do Roman versus Cody night 1, Rock versus Roman night 2. I don't know.
I didn't get that, though, because there was a word when we kind of saw what Cody said, basically saying that not the ones was not WrestleMania. He specifically said not WrestleMania.
I'm hoping it's Elimination Chamber for Roman versus Cody at this point. Then I think you have to. You can't go another year of Roman with the title. I've been saying this for quite a few months now. There's not much story left for him, and it just doesn't make sense long term, as Triple H has always been a long-term booker.
Okay, but business would tell you, we spoke about this after the Rumble. Business says, though, that the people are going and it's record business numbers and we're in a boom period. So the point would be, though, that, obviously things are still working.
Yeah. The only the only reason they're really doing this is they're trying to try to get the attention off other things, because other news in the WWE and their former owner Vince McMahon, oh boy, things are going nuts there. So I think they're trying to get the attention on them in a good way, not in a negative way right now with everything going on. That's my only other thinking why they're going to do Rock versus Roman. But I don't want to see Seth versus Cody. I don't think it makes sense. Also, we don't know if Seth is going to make it to WrestleMania, the other thing.
Well, I was under the assumption that this would be for Mania, not for the Chamber. Mm-hmm. So ultimately, if Cody's passing on Roman and he's looking to go another direction, that direction would have to be Seth Rollins.
Seth Rollins, or my other thinking he's thinking is going to be Rock, because the thing I got where you said, right, Cody said it's not going to be
not WrestleMania. He said it's not WrestleMania. He said, I want to finish the story against you. I want that, but it's not at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I'm under the impression that Cody is not facing Roman at WrestleMania 40, and then we saw somebody else would, and that's where we saw If You Smell What the Rock is Cooking. Mm-hmm. So to me, it seems like Cody and Roman's off the table, and that would lead me to assume it's going to be Cody and Seth at Mania.
It just doesn't. I just feel Cody. Personal opinions. I maybe not thinking logically. I don't think Cody and Seth sells, because we've seen the 3 matches. And listen, the match with the Torpec is what really put Cody to that next level. That was the match that really elevated him from kind of the mid-card to mid-event face of the company. I don't think you can top that match and what that performance, even on WrestleMania. I don't think there's much more Seth and Cody can offer.
Okay, let me ask you a follow-up on it. Are we seeing if this is going to happen? To me, I'm under the assumption, again, Cody's not facing Roman at Mania. He specifically said not at Mania, where we saw if you smell what The Rock is cooking. Now, again, they both didn't say anything to each other. There was no words exchanged between Roman and The Rock, and we still have many, many weeks until Mania itself in Philly. But it would have to mean that it's Cody and Seth. But are we getting Cody and Seth because CM Punk got injured right after the Rumble, and the backup plan really would then be to kind of throw Cody back into a feud with Seth? Is that a fair point, that the reason that if we're not going to get Cody and Roman, which it's clear to me we're not in Mania, it's really because of Punk getting injured, and the backup for Seth is Cody?
You know what? I was really thinking about this, Tom, all week, because Seth is right now, I would say 50-50 for Mania. He's hoping he can make it, but they don't know. Punk is out. So my thinking was, is it time really to pull the plug on Gunther at this point? Is it time for him
We're having
to
a 600-day celebration on Monday. I mean,
Exactly.
if you think about it, who's the guy that really could give Seth a run for his money? Maybe you want to unify the titles, I suppose. We've seen that happen before. That would definitely make sense, but you said 50-50. I'm going to go actually and say it's going to be near 100% that Seth's going to be there, because if we're 2 months out, and I know the meniscus tear, we've spoke about it on the show previously, but I feel like at the end of the day, I go back to WrestleMania 14 with Shawn Michaels, where Shawn Michaels got injured and he was supposed to never wrestle again against The Undertaker in the Royal Rumble, and they found a way to be able to get him through that match. Now, it wasn't Shawn Michaels' greatest match by a long shot at all, but Seth freaking Rollins, the performer that he is, I certainly think that he'll be able to give it his best effort at WrestleMania 40, even if he knows he's that injured, is going to drop the title to Cody.
Oh, absolutely, it's possible. Look, go back to WrestleMania 30 with Daniel Bryan before he got in that match. He was dealing with a lot of injuries heading into WrestleMania. He pulled it off. Definitely, I could see Seth really pushing it. I know, go back to the year before, CM Punk had a number of injuries in his match against The Undertaker, and he was able to pull it off. So definitely, I see Seth pushing it, but I don't know. For me, with Seth and Cody, I don't know if there's much to tell. It's more just, well, we're just having the match just because. Seth is more transitioned to a face. Like, are we going to see Cody become a heel at this point, or Seth's going to?
I don't think Cody becoming a heel.
Yeah, no, it's
We
not
saw the handshake with The Rock. That was the endorsement. And I want to bring on somebody who also is going to have something to say about it. Another Hall of Famer on Sportswire. I think you heard the conversation.
I actually had to mute it. I had to put my son to bed.
Yeah, well, I'm okay.
So I literally apparently had paused it just before, or just as Cody was starting his talking.
Oh no!
So when I heard y'all talking about something about Cody, I had to mute you.
Well,
finished watching the last 10 minutes, so I knew what the fuck was going on.
Well, I guess I should bring it up to you, Coach. Cody was speaking about Cody, and Cody's not going against Roman at Mania. How do you feel about this?
I think that mean
bullshit. Okay, talk to me. Talk to me.
Thank you, Coach.
I think it's complete horseshit. I think that this goes, okay, so I don't know if any of you guys remember this, but this goes back to 2 years ago. One of the main things that, I'm going to say his name, Vince McMahon wanted implemented, one of the things he wanted to happen in the Roman Reigns, bloodline angle was for The Rock to basically be involved at the end of the whole bloodline scenario, period, because of The Rock's place legitimately in that family. He's a high
And now, especially with Rock being on the board of directors, and he just got his name back, well, duh, I could certainly see why WWE wants to kind of capitalize on that. And
with Punk getting hurt, I can only imagine the reason they're doing this is to shuffle it around, to go back to a plan they had in a drawer from 2 years ago.
Well, you also got to think about it, right? Endeavor is in the business of promoting. Endeavor comes from the UFC world, right? Now, I think we all want to see Cody and Roman because of the natural history, but Endeavor is not wrestling fans. They're looking at it from a sheer ability to promote, and they think, and then this goes back to that individual that we shall not name, basically, that they're in the business of promoting. They're in the business of selling tickets and getting mainstream press. And what better way to get mainstream press is to have The Rock versus Roman?
Well, okay, but what does that do for Rock versus Roman? Because, as us, as fans, people that sit here and watch and spectate, are we going to watch The Rock actually take the title off Roman?
Oh,
or is it going to be or is it going to be that predictable outcome because he's got that busy schedule? Or will he actually surprise us when the bell?
If you believe anything, Jeff Jarrett was talking about this on his podcast, and he said that maybe there's a possibility. The Rock has made all this money, right? The Rock is the biggest actor in the world, and Randy, you can obviously jump in on this, but maybe now he's gonna maybe not do as many movies. He doesn't need the money. He's making $30 million a year, right? $30 million a year to be on the board of directors. So maybe that means he's going to be involved in WWE a lot more than we've seen him in the past decade. Randy, you're shaking your head. Tell me why.
The only thing with that is, can he go at that high level? It's been 20-some years since he's been.
But you're not going to get The Rock wrestle every 2 months. You're
not going to. I'm looking more at maybe that old Brock Lesnar schedule, or what Roman Reigns kind of have right now, like a match here or there, Logan Paul. But even The Rock has been out of this for so long. His body has so much wear and tear, and the talent compared, it's a different wrestling WWE compared with what it was.
I would say the last time that The Rock was a full-time competitor, if we're really being real for a second, not counting the part-time runs, would probably be when he dropped the title to Brock Lesnar in 2002. That's the last time I would say that he was a semi-regular competitor. So he had to come back in 2003. Right. Yep.
And the only close thing to that in the past 2 decades was when he came in, he won the belt, he beat Punk for it, took it from Punk, and then he lost it. But even then,
he didn't really wrestle. We're talking like where he was like what Randy's saying, as a true in-ring competitor. Not even the 2003 run with Hogan and Austin and Goldberg. I'm talking about where he was somebody wrestling house shows, regular events. It's SummerSlam 2002. But again, Endeavor's not interested in that. They're looking at it from a sheer perspective to get earned media engagements and have that ability to sell his name. And that's what Cody, I agree. I want to see Cody too, but they're not wrestling fans. They're in the business of mainstream promotion. Maybe that's the angle here.
Tom, the only thing I worry about, and Chris, you can chime on this, but the only thing I worry about this compared to 2002, even when The Rock came back in 2013, 12, the talent is much higher level and the product has risen.
Absolutely. It's a completely different speed. It's a different generation that you can't compare 22 years ago. Absolutely.
And social media out there. Rock does a botch, it's going to blow up in the media. And if it keeps happening and he's not even performing bad matches, do the fans turn on him saying, what the heck's going on? We're past the days of Goldberg. I know Goldberg, the classic example, where fans were just getting sick and tired of him just having these pointless matches or these quick matches where it just didn't mean anything.
I'll tell you the difference, though. Here's the difference on as we're speaking here with Randy Dillon and Coach Chris Craven, our Sportswire Radio Hall of Famers, recapping the big news here that The Rock has returned to SmackDown, and it appears that he's facing Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia. I'm going to tell you the difference. Here's the difference between The Rock and Goldberg. I don't think The Rock, though, is going to wrestle regularly still. I'm not saying he's going to be an in-ring performer. I'm saying he's going to have this one match and maybe another match here, SummerSlam, and that's it. I'm not saying he's going to be here regularly.
I'm going to touch on something interesting that I heard I heard tonight on that final segment.
Okay, you tell me.
So Cody said he was going to take everything. Not him and someone else.
Yeah.
He was going to take everything from Roman. But he wasn't, and he wants that belt, but it's not going to be at Mania. My question
that's exactly what. Yes, I mentioned specifically not at Mania. So
my question is
okay.
My question is he going to go to Seth? He's going to take Seth's belt. And my opinion of Seth and Rhodes. I like Seth. I like Rhodes. But we watched it 3 pay-per-views in a row.
We spoke about that.
They
Yep,
they can't top the Pac match.
Anybody who's anybody is going to go into WrestleMania. And listen, this is the shitty part about it. Any fan of wrestling is going to go into WrestleMania. They're going to turn it on. They're going to be there in attendance, knowing the history between Cody and Rollins. That Cody went up, 3-0 on Rollins, right? It makes it automatically predictable. I mean, what are you going to have? You're going to have Cody lose for the 2nd year in a row of finishing some part of a story? That would be the shittiest fucking thing. Jesus Christ, you already gave him. Basically, the company's already having him give up his shot against Roman again. Now he's going to, if he loses. So it basically makes the Seth match predictable that you know exactly what's going to happen.
Okay, let me ask you a follow-up. Well, now, there's this show called Elimination Chamber. Randy touched upon it, and I'm with you, Coach. I didn't hear anything that would say anything other than WrestleMania, but let's play along. And hi, how you doing? Hopefully you become the next Rock. Hopefully you become the next Roman Reigns. But let me ask you, though, this question, Coach. Is obviously, I know you're training another little one to be just like you in the ring and be a Hall of Famer on Sportswire, but let me ask you, though, we have this big show in Perth, Australia called Elimination Chamber. Is there any chance next week Roman can kind of retort The Rock and say, you know what? I don't want this at WrestleMania. I want this match in Australia because we know that Endeavor is about the global brand, the global audience, and selling WWE. And what better way to do that and make the Elimination Chamber worthwhile is having The Rock and Roman in Perth, Australia. What do you guys make of that?
Possible.
Well, it makes it worth it because the pay-per-view starts here at 2 a.m. in the morning, so they have to give me a good reason to roll up bed or stay up that late.
I'll give you another wild scenario, and I just thought of this.
Okay.
Rock, you're right. Say Roman says, I don't want Rock at Mania. Let's do it at Chamber. Let's get it out the way. Say The Rock takes the bet, and this is a way, now keep this in mind, this is a way for The Rock to actually take it. So it's not predictable that he's just going to lose because he's going to go off somewhere else and not be here next week. Say The Rock takes it. And then at Mania, night Cody. 1, he takes it off of Seth. Cody takes it off of Seth. And then night 2, he takes it off of Rock. Allegedly, Cody taking everything, like he just said.
Yeah,
I say that because I heard some
the word everything. Yeah, everything from Roman. Yeah,
I heard some dirt sheet spread for the past 48 hours about a possible winner take all scenario at Mania.
And Craven Ray was spreading the dirt.
No, this was some actually like wrestling reporters and some people that are actually legitimate. Like they were talking about the company was exploring a possible one winner take all scenario. And I was like, when I first heard, I was like, yeah, right. They're not going to pull that shit off. But watching tonight,
made you
say something about Chamber, because yeah, we do. We still got Australia to hit. I don't know. Like, I don't see how this, like I said, it doesn't make sense for him to fight Rollins because it's already, you pretty much already know what's going to happen unless they fuck Cody. And then with The Rock and Roman, even though that this is a storyline that they wanted 2 years ago when The Rock was too busy doing his movies and his insurance carrier would not clear him to perform because of his licensing and insurance with the studios. He couldn't do it. So, okay, all of a sudden he's on the board. Maybe you're right. He's making this much money. He don't need to worry about a lot of things in his schedule. He can do it now. So now it's like, and then of course, like I said, you had two major change-ups for Mania that happened that people are, Punk got hurt, which I don't know.
We didn't know on the air. We were on the air last week. We didn't know that. We had
whether or not it's legit or not, I don't know. It could be, it could not be. I've heard both sides. But you got Punk being hurt. Brock Lesnar's no longer going to be a part of Mania, which was supposed to be something against Gunther.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. And Gunther mentioned, yes, I agree with you.
Now you got two major changes to Mania before we even got to this week's shows. before the Rumble was even happening, before the Rumble to the end of the Rumble, you got to make two changes. Before the Rumble was Brock changing because they took him out because of all the shit going on, and after the Rumble, Punk's hurt, so now you got to take him out. So here we get to this Friday, we get to SmackDown, and everybody's thinking. You figure, look at that. At the end of the Rumble, he's pointing at Roman, going, "I want you."
We were on the air. We thought automatically that it was going to be the Roman versus Cody, and then we had Seth made him.
It's like the whole scenario when everyone thought was happening has now been flipped upside down.
The only thing I say with that Code 2 thing with the title unifying, I just feel with them bringing the world title in back so soon, unifying the title, getting rid of it, I think kind of hurt. Because the one thing at least the world title done is giving us other superstars we've seen to step up, like a Nakamura. We've seen Drew McIntyre, Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, all these guys get more opportunities.
Yeah.
The only other thing I could see, the other thing with Seth, with Punk's injury is, I was at WrestleMania 32, and that WrestleMania was not the greatest because all the injuries. The roster wasn't deep. I feel WWE Endeavor, they have a much deeper roster there. I feel if anything, if you were going to do a big thing with Gunther, maybe time to pull the plug on Gunther. Give him the World Heavyweight Championship. If you really feel he is that big time moment, because you have the talent to work to make the changes. It's not like, okay, we're very thin on talent, we don't even know who to use. You have the likes of a Gunther, of a Drew McIntyre who's still under contract.
Right, there's a plethora of talent in the locker room.
Mm-hmm. So I understand, like, with Punk versus Rollins, you can push it to next year, but I don't feel you have to change everything up. But you're absolutely right where they want to promote The Rock. You still need a big star to replace Brock, and I think The Rock's your next best fit.
Well, all right. I will say this one thing though. You talking about the world title? It's only been the new world title has only been in circulation for about a year. But the world title is something that's been around for it's been around for decades. It comes, it goes. They bring it back, they put it away. But you also have to understand, like a unification match, the belt that Roman Reigns is walking around with is a unified title. It is the WWE Universal Championship because they took the Universal and WWE and already unified it. So I don't know if they would unify it again. I think they would still keep it separate even if they went down that avenue.
But Endeavor is involved now.
Right.
Endeavor's involved. Maybe they would want a unified championship.
Maybe they would want...
All right, so bottom line, in the interest of, there's a couple other things I want to move on here in the remaining 20 minutes. We'll bring the rest of the Sportswire guys on here in about 20 or so minutes. So bottom line is that Rock and Roman, we think is going to happen, but Cody's kind of left kind of in this weird position, unless you're going to, as you said, maybe do the 2-day angle, or you're going to do something at Chamber that would maybe put Rock and Roman at the Chamber instead. And that's where we come back to Cody. Cody and Seth makes no sense. Seth, we think, is probably still going to be able to hang on and make it to Mania because I think it's 50-50 on a torn meniscus. He'll be able to find a way to finish the situation and go and drop the title if he's that injured. So we're still kind of left with question marks at the end of the day.
Yeah. And then how did the Money in the Bank fit in all this? Because I think this ultimately changed what do you do with Damian Priest in the briefcase. Because listen, that briefcase...
Well, there's rumors about Finn Balor and that his situation's up in the air now.
Yeah, so there's so much that CM Punk has changed that they don't really know what's going to happen.
Theoretically, Gunther makes the most sense to go against Seth Rollins because he's been the most unstoppable guy on the Raw roster. And if you're going to slot him against Brock, and if you're saying hypothetically that Seth isn't going to be able to go past Mania, well, the way to change that situation and to have a undisputed or a more unified winner-take-all champion on the Raw end would be Gunther, and nobody's really come close to Gunther. So ultimately, that's the move you make there. And then I suppose
you're going to have Damian cash in on Brock and Roman.
Which
is still a possibility.
The other thing with Gunther is he could relinquish the title, say, I'm giving up the title to go for the world title. That's the other opportunity to finally get the IC title off him. because I don't think there's anyone going to beat him on that on any brand other than some of the top guys now. Like he beat them all.
I mean, but we're not going to have an Uso do it. We're all thinking Uso versus Uso at WrestleMania, right? Is that what we're going with?
Yeah, I think that's going to happen. I think
that's still the plan, especially with Naomi now coming back. She can play a huge part in that match.
But Uso and Uso's got to happen. I mean, come on now. We've been waiting for that since they split.
Yep.
Like that's been anticipated since they split. But to go back on what you said about Gunther's at a point right now, like they do need to take him to another step. Coming out, okay, he's got an total reign. That's the greatest right now of history.
Yeah, you know what it reminds me? It reminds me of Kurt Angle. Listen, remember when Kurt Angle won the European title and he had the Intercontinental title? He had both, and it was pretty apparent that you had to move him up. And Gunther's at that level where he's been for about 2 years now, almost 2 years now as the IC champion. You got to make the move. Wouldn't the move now be coming at Mania?
Well, I mean, think about it though. Like I said, like every week you watch Gunther come out, it's starting to get staler, a little bit more stale. Like he's just
he hasn't faced anybody that's really up to par with him. There's nobody he hasn't had.
Give him a challenge. Either give him a challenge for that IC title, or bump him up, or both. But do something. Don't just let him come out every week and do nothing. Yeah. Especially if he's putting on good matches. Come on, dude. I was loving all the shit he was doing with Gable.
Yep.
Like those matches were fire.
Bronson Reed, like all these guys, and it kind of hurts all the work they've done with the IC title to build it up. If he's getting stale, then it takes that relevance.
Well, because you got to look at who is out there on the roster. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. So obviously, Cody, you got me more confused. I still don't know where we're going with Cody. And then conversely, though, okay, go ahead.
I'll say the same thing I told you. I said on the night that we did this with the Rumble.
Yes.
If they do not give Cody a heavyweight championship by WrestleMania, just to throw Elimination Chamber in there too. If they do not give that man one of these two top titles, specifically the WWE title, but if they don't give him a heavyweight title by Mania, they just invested what now? That's a total of 3 years wasted angle.
Yep.
An investment of a storyline. That's 3 years. That marks the.
Let me get to a couple comments here. TBK wants to say he thinks that this, and he's obviously, we were hoping to get him on here, but he has an issue with his camera, so we'll bring him back next Friday. Hopefully everything is good with him. We thank him for designing our logo, but he wants to say that he thinks the CM Punk injury is a work.
No,
I do too.
Why? Sorry, Chris, you go ahead.
Why?
Yeah, why? Why is it a work? You tell me why it's a work. Tell me why.
I think the Rollins thing is a work. To be honest with you, I think both their injuries are a work to try to swerve people. I mean, look what happened on SmackDown tonight and on Raw on Monday. Everybody for this entire weekend, we're sitting here talking about it right now.
Yeah.
Everything from Monday.
I gotta be honest, I'm more interested in this than talking about
baseball. Everybody. It's almost like WWE got a whole new list of writers and said, "Let's fuck with the audience. Let's really fuck with them."
But you know what, though? There is a truth to that. Listen, you were a wrestler, right? I have obviously, I'm not gonna, pull any punches here. I'm pretty much, for all intensive purposes, in forms of wrestling, a topic, a commodity. I know what people tell me. So obviously, yeah. I mean, not at the WWE level for sure, but there's no question that people know there's dirt sheets, there's brown nosers, and yeah, it could be that. Absolutely. Let me come back to TBK. He's got another comment. Go ahead, jump in.
The only thing I'm going to say with Punk is I'm just looking at his history. In the last few with AEW, he returns, he gets hurt. He returns, he gets hurt. We saw
UFC didn't last very long there. He had problems there.
The injury. So I'm looking at the injuries, and is this something where Punk's body's not able to handle the work at this point?
One thing I want to say on Punk, what is Punk, 44 or something like that in his mid-40s?
He's getting up there. I think, about 45.
Mid to late 40s.
Mid to late 40s, right? And now all of a sudden going to be a regular guy after he hasn't really been a regular wrestler. The AEW schedule is not WWE. No. I'm just saying. I mean, I don't know. Listen, I'm not a doctor.
But he's also not one of them guys that are out there working every night either. I mean,
what's that?
He's been back. He's also not one of them guys that's been out there working every night. Jesus Christ, he returned at a Survivor Series, and the first time we publicly on television saw him in a match was the Rumble. 2 months later.
Well, he had the one match, if I'm not mistaken, he wrestled a match
A house show.
Madison Square Garden.
With Dom.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm talking, like I said, publicly on television.
All right, and let me
Took
come
them
back
2
before I
months to
come
put
back
him
to
on TV.
TBK. Before I want to say a little to our owner of Cutlery Championship Wrestling, Mr. James Barris. He DM'd me on Facebook. Maybe he doesn't want this on screen, but he said in his words, he knew that they were going to screw Cody over. Well, he didn't say screw. He said more of a inappropriate word, but he feels that Cody's being screwed again. Could be. I don't know. Want to say hello to Jules NYC. Yep. How you doing? And to the Sportswire team, you're going to hang on maybe till about 5 to 11 because I want to really talk wrestling right now for a moment. So baseball off season can wait. It's going to wait because we got a lot of hot topics right now in wrestling. So guys, just hang on here. Here's my other thought. Cody challenges Roman at the Chamber and wins. We get Rock versus Roman at Mania. I think, Coach, you said that, right? Rock wins. Roman takes a long hiatus. Roman has everything taken. Okay. All right. So we'll come back to that. Here's a reason why Punk is a work. Just because he wants to main event Mania doesn't mean he will. He has to prove he can be a team player before he gets those opportunities.
I'm going to disagree with you, TBK, on that.
Why?
Because, Tom, the points you made and CM Punk, his name really has been really hot since he's returned to.
Listen, I got to be
AEW.
honest, Randy, I've known you 2.5 years. I feel like every week in the 2.5 years on Sportswire, who's the biggest person we've
CM
spoken
Punk.
about? There
So
you
it
go.
makes sense why he would main event because of that revenue, what he'll bring, and look how much he brought the revenue. He's one of the top selling T-shirts next to R-Truth. Like he took
Most
that right away.
engagement. I think his return video had the most engagements in WWE YouTube
Yep.
history or something like that.
Oh, exactly. So definitely, they're the reason why they think he deserves to main event, because sometimes you got to be that big money draw where he wasn't at that point. I think in 2011, 12, 13, he was getting there, but now he definitely is.
Well,
I think
he had
him
the
leaving
400 plus
made
day
him.
run as champion. I think that he was there. I think that, obviously there were things that led to his leaving. And I think that in a way that helped him because he wasn't in the public eye. But look, he took definitely a bruising. UFC, he was not very successful. AEW, I mean, mixed bag. But, look,
But,
obviously.
yeah, to go off of what TBK said, though, that's possible. He could take it off of Roman at Chamber. And then,
Well, I brought the point up about maybe could you see Rock and Roman in Perth? Maybe that's the move.
I have to think.
But
I
I
actually
believe that
just
Roman's going to
thinking
beat The Rock, though. I don't think
after
The Rock's
TB
going to beat Roman. My personal
after
opinion.
TBK said what he just said, I actually kind of think that Cody's going to take it off of. I think Cody's going to take it off of him. I think Cody could possibly take it off him at Chamber. Then you'll still have your Rock and Roman match, not for a title at Mania. Still leaving Cody to fight Seth, and then maybe that's where Damian comes in and cashes on that match, because you got to think Damian's only Money in the Bank's only right after Mania, so Damian's running out of time.
Yeah,
so
3 months,
and it keeps my point is it keeps a unification from happening. It allows Cody to get what he wants. It allows Endeavor to get what they want by marketing The Rock.
Let me bring up one other thing he has to say, because I want to get to a few other topics in the time. How do we know Drew doesn't have a match in Elimination Chamber that Punk screws him in? Those two have heat. We could have Punk versus Drew at Mania. Let Seth rest. We don't know until we know. What about the Drew contract situation?
I think Drew and Sammy are going to be before Drew and Punk are. Go down.
I think at this point I'm still surprised they haven't reached the deal after the big Netflix signing as well. Because
but I heard Finn Balor now also is another one that could be on the way out. That's what I heard the other day. Somebody said.
I think Endeavor can sign these guys. It's just a matter of getting everything done. I think right now the whole situation with Vince McMahon throwing everything kind of in the back end.
I'm surprised you brought his name up. I'm surprised.
Listen, as much as the perverted, sick person he is, he still has his hands are all over this company, and you have to bring his neck. I know they don't want to bring his name on TV. They're trying to erase him. You think about professional wrestling. Unfortunately, Vince McMahon does come up.
No, and Conrad Thompson pretty much made the same point in Jeff Jarrett's podcast with him. And again, if you're on Sportswire Radio, you want to give us a sub, do give us a sub. We're on YouTube at Sportswire Radio 6579. And you got to give us a sub because we're here with 2 Hall of Famers. How many shows can say that they have 2 Hall of Famers with them? And Conrad Thompson even made the point that he's actually in more wrestling Hall of Fames than Vince McMahon. And while Randy Dillon and Chris Craven are in more Hall of Fames than Vince McMahon. In fact, Chris Craven's in 2 more Hall of Fames than Vince McMahon. But I want to obviously bring up Bayley before I get to a fun topic, which is somebody that
I called that shit on Royal Rumble night.
I wanted to bring it up. So what did you think? Did you
I
like
said
that?
they were going to do it just the way they did Batista with Evolution. Hell, they even did the backstage segment in the locker room where the person being betrayed overheard the shit talking from the locker room.
I really thought they were going to play this out a little bit longer.
Yeah, I agree with you. I didn't think they would just do it right away.
Yeah. Because
as soon as I seen them on Raw and tonight on SmackDown have Rhea waiting in the rings, I kind of figured they were gonna be speedy with it.
The only thing I wonder is with this, because I know the rumors out there, Mercedes Moné, Sasha Banks, she's supposed to go to AEW, but Bayley needs someone in her corner that I believe Dakota Kai is going to go with Damage Control. It's going to be a 4-on-1. Like, she needs someone in her corner, and I have to think there's only one person she would want in her corner at this point.
Sasha.
Exactly. So that's why
Yeah, but you just said, though, she's going to AEW.
No, those are rumors. These are the same rumors.
Do everybody know what happened at Rumble? None of you guys know what happened at Rumble?
No.
They put out a social media video. Sasha, Naomi, and Bayley, they were all backstage. Sasha was at Rumble.
That's why I asked you the question. Yeah,
I was in the building. Sasha was actually in the building.
But everybody's saying Tony Khan has an announcement. Yeah, I get you, but Tony Khan has this big announcement, and everybody thinks the big announcement is that Mercedes is signing with AEW finally.
It could be the big person coming out of Japan. I think Okada. I can't remember. Okada, yeah, his big name out, because the one thing with I really wish AEW would kind of hold off on these announcements till after Sting's retirement, because this should be their focus.
3 years. It's always, we got an announcement. Yeah. Then they bring somebody in, then they get hyped up for 2 weeks, and then they become like everybody else that Tony Khan collects. We've talked about this over and over like a dead horse.
Now, I don't think Sasha, and I could be wrong, but I don't think Sasha's going to AEW. I think it could be Okada. I think it could be. I mean, dude, Christ's sakes, they could be talking about anybody. I mean, like you said, how many times?
Maybe Craven Rage, AEW. You know that Craven Rage could be out there. He's the backyard nightmare ruler of the
Anthony Steele? No.
Hey, you know what? I thought he was going to WWE. Tony Khan could sign him. You never know who the names could be. That's the point. I mean, so I guess we don't know. TBK would like to say on Bayley and EO, you saw it coming a mile away. And you know what? I'm glad they did it now. The Triple H era is quickly becoming the slow burn era. Roman, Bayley, Damian Cashin, etc. What do you guys think?
Yeah, no. Even with NXT, you look at Triple H's time in NXT, the big thing I remember was the 2018, the Gargano and Ciampa. That was a very long, slow burn, but it was probably some of the hottest wrestling we saw, and they were really keeping our interest with that.
I want to ask you guys a fun noise. We're here with Chris Craven, our coach. He says he's the only Craven, but there is another guy, Craven Ray.
I mean, can I throw something? Jesus Christ.
The YouTube numbers come up. Every time I mention that, the YouTube numbers perk up.
I was going to say, let me say one final thing just to think about. You guys can answer after the fun question.
All right.
We know Bayley's going against EO. Who do you think's going against Bayley? Who do you think's going against Rhea?
I'm still going Becky.
Becky.
You know what? I think we spoke about this a couple of times. I said Becky Lynch originally because of the history there, but I'm starting to think that Nia Jax might be involved somehow. I don't know why. Maybe it's a triple threat. I don't know. If you would have asked me 2 weeks ago, even last week, I was like definitely Becky. But now you starting to make me think about it, and I don't know definitively. I
had somebody at work today try to tell me that Charlotte's going to be back in time for Mania. I said no, she's not.
Now you know what? All right, if you want to say Punk's will work, I still don't think that's a work, but if you really want to tell me Charlotte Flair's injury is a work, when Ric Flair actually just spoke about the injury and basically what she's going through, I'm going to say, okay, people really want to believe in this. It almost reminds me of that Howard Stern show where Sammy Hagar, obviously ex-singer of Van Halen, was talking about aliens. You really might be believing in aliens and that they are for real if you think that Charlotte Flair's injury is a work. I've said a lot today on Sportswire Radio. We had 31 people at one point on YouTube where we basically had somebody that was basically in Brad Coleman's shooting on the world. If you think that Charlotte Flair was a work, clearly you must believe in aliens.
Right. Man, you definitely got not all your marbles there. No, I'll give the same my prediction for that is I'm gonna do the safe bet. I think it's either gonna be Nia, Jade, or Becky, or maybe some sort of a big match including everybody or multiple.
Yeah, I think Jade Cargill. I think TBK's got that also in the mix. People are talking about because of Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair about that moment. Would that be a match you'd want to see? I mean, Liv Morgan's been thrown out there. I don't know if Liv Morgan, I would throw it into the mix. But Nia Jax has been dominant.
Her legal problems thrown her off.
With Bayley winning, I think whoever wins the Elimination Chamber is probably going against Rhea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So typically,
which means it comes down to Becky and Nia Jax as the final two.
I don't know. Normally,
we're going to face Rhea at the Elimination Chamber. I think that's going to happen in Australia because listen, you got to give Rhea a big match going into her home country.
Well, then that would be Nia Jax, and you have Rhea beat Nia Jax, and you, like you said, go to Becky Lynch at Mania. That would be.
I actually think that you're right. I think Nia could wind up going and doing the Australia match in Perth, but anytime they've had a cross-branded Elimination Chamber for that secondary role to the Rumble winner, it's usually been half of the people it's 3 from SmackDown, 3 from Raw.
Yep.
So at this point, regardless who faces Rhea in Australia, because you're going to give the hometown chick a title match. Yeah. You're going to put her out there and promote her in her home country.
Yeah, just like when Davey Boy would go and wrestle in the UK, when Davey Boy was there,
right? So regardless of who her opponent is in Australia, the Chamber, you got to be looking at both shows. It could be anybody.
Yeah. Well, the Chamber is going to be a big deal this time because of the global outreach. And let me get to a couple things here before I ask you the fun question. And since he entered the Women's Rumble, the biggest swerve yet, R-Truth.
Best thing, Truth is a legend.
he's my Hall of Famer. And yes, we heard. Did you hear Cody Rhodes announcing he'll be going after Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 40? Did you watch SmackDown tonight, Ethan?
He's never playing a weird game.
That's my point. That's my point. And Coach, speaking of things, I want to actually say hello to the other Craven Rage. He wants to say OG Coach Craven, and Coach, you are the OG Craven. So, he's obviously saying hello. Okay, he's saying hello. I want to ask you guys a fun question. I sent you guys both something. I guess people might, a lot of time, I know the Sportswire guys are waiting, and this will wait because I don't think baseball off-season talk is number one. So you're going to have to hang on for a few minutes because I'm fired up and it is my show. So we'll have to wait, guys. We'll definitely get you a crack. I promise you. Just hang on tight. But did you hear apparently that for his 60th birthday, and I know, Coach, you've been trying to plan a comeback here. And Randy, just maybe you want to even consider a return to the ring also. But I hear apparently that Mick Foley is trying to lose some weight, and for his 60th birthday, wants to have one more match, and albeit a death match, a hardcore death match. I would think, you guys, that maybe you'd want to be opponents, and you might want to turn your volume off in the background.
Oh, Lord. All right. Hey, I have
going to walk after this hardcore death match? Because listen, he had to end his career early with everything he went through in like the 90s and stuff. Like, I don't think he should do this for his own sake. He's going to be like paralyzed or something after this death match from what we've seen so far.
I have all the respect in the world for Mick Foley as a human being and as a performer. But being 60 years old, we've actually had the privilege of seeing Mick on camera. He can barely function. He can barely move, let alone walk. So I don't know unless he's going to be like one of them miracle cases of DDP yoga. I mean, Christ's sakes, Scott Hall was wheelchair bound for like 2 years before he did that stuff, and then he was walking again, came back, did that Mania spot with Sting and Triple H. So who the fuck knows? I don't put anything past Mick Foley. I don't know if it's a smart choice, but I don't put anything past him.
Now, Coach, I know you're obviously thinking about a return to the ring, but would you be one of those people that maybe wants to have that last match with him?
Fuck no. I'm crazy, not stupid.
Okay, so who would be that person you think that would want to have that match?
Thinking thing? What's this thing? No, what's this thinking statement you just made? Thinking?
No, I said who would you think would be that particular person that would have the match? That's my question to you.
Well, you said I was thinking about an in-ring return. Who said anything about thinking? I am.
Oh, I was trying to be very polite. I was trying to be pedestrian. I was trying to be, respectful. It's, I don't want to.
I'll be at Summer Bash.
Okay, you might be there, but I was thinking, listen, and I am echoing, so somebody has some noise in the background. I don't know how to fix it, but so Randy Mick Foley, up, down, what?
Oh my God! Like he's done a lot in his career.
You wiping your forehead just like that?
Listen,
he's like, geez.
It's pretty much like I think of Mick, like he's done a lot. Like I've heard a lot of great stories about Mick from Bruce Hart and what Mick has done and type of work he did, but we've seen the guy's work and what he's done. I don't think the boss can handle it just because like how much more does he have left? And you've seen some of these matches. Like what's gonna happen to the guy? Like I don't know.
We'll have to see what happens. We'll have to see what happens. We'll have to see, and hopefully we'll see. I mean, anything else in particular, gentlemen, that you guys want to talk about and anything else on your mind in wrestling?
Couple things I want to say about AEW. One, I'm going to give some credit to Tony Khan on Twitter because I know I got the guy. But listen, the guy hasn't could have really ripped it to W with everything going on with him. He's kind of keeping his mouth shut there. So I give him credit there. The other thing with AEW is Swerve Strickland. They built the guy up so much in the last little while. And it feels like, what are they doing with him? This feud with Hangman Adam Page. What's kind of going with Samoa Joe? Should he really be in the title picture? It's kind of like he's in a weird spot where I feel Hangman's going to get that opportunity before Swerve Strickland does. That's my thoughts there.
Well, I want to ask one more thing here. We finally fixed the echoing, thank God. So the echoing is finally fixed. Now I
can't speak on AEW. I haven't watched it in weeks.
Okay, so I'm going to move on here, and I want to ask you guys one more thing, because I have to bring up that individual with 3 initials, because it seems like there could be more names apparently out there. More could be the NDAs don't matter. I've heard John Laurinaitis' name come up, and are we expecting more to come when it comes to this particular situation? What do you say to this, Randy?
Yep, we're going to get more from Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
I'm surprised you said his name. I mean, Conrad
Eric Bischoff says cash creates controversy, so a controversial name hopefully creates some cash here tonight.
I had somebody message me today about that. We had our guest, Brad Coleman. You would have loved him, Coach, by the way. He was shooting on like
I heard rumors today that 2K took Vince and Brock out of the game.
Yep.
But I want to know, Brock's situation, is it similar, different than Vince? I mean, I was trying to understand this.
Sorry, Tom.
From what I understand,
to just clean their name. They don't want anything to do with it with Mania right around the corner to take attention off that.
I don't know if Brock is in much trouble as Vince, but they didn't even name Brock. It was a descriptive, like the what's the name? The woman that is going after Vince.
Janelle Grant
mentioned something about one of the talent that was involved with UFC that was also involved with this, but never mentioned the name. So they automatically assume it was Brock, which is not like far-fetched. I mean, he was UFC. He is a current talent, but there are other people in the company that have been involved in UFC.
Okay, let me ask you guys a follow-up to that. I want to say hello to our buddy, Mr. Jason Storm. I hope he and his wife and his daughter are doing well. And also, I want to say hello to our man here who we just had a great conversation with earlier today. His name is Mr. Brad Coleman. And of course, it was Mr. Sportswire. We officially named him Brad Coleman. Of course, Brad Coleman, the former world champion in the UK tag team champion. He's here with us. And we say hi to you, Brad. Wanted to show our appreciation to you. But let me ask you guys both this question. Did Triple H handle it in the press conference the right way? Because everybody was saying that he didn't do a good job with that.
I think he did. Because you got to be professional about it. If he'd have said anything different other than like pushing it onto the side, it gives anything. It either gives the press more what if to talk about, or if he said the wrong thing, it could aid or hurt whoever's involved in that case.
I agree with you there, Coach. I think he had to say what he said in the right way. He didn't get into too much detail. I think it goes back to Tony Khan's presser at World Ends, at least where Tony Khan said it was a safe place to work, and I think that was. But listen, they have to say in a way where they don't want to add publicity on their company or things get out of hand.
I mean, the whole reason that TKO and WWE
Endeavor,
the whole reason that the conglomerate, that company is in its whole is distancing themselves right now from Brock and Vince McMahon is because they don't want it shadowing what's going on with them. So for Triple H to basically, I guess, announce that, yes, we are worried about safety, but then pleading the fifth on everything else, it leaves it takes it off the table. And if you watch that press conference, what was it, like 2-3 reporters tried to ask him the same question, different variants, and he gave the same thing. He was like, look, we're not going there.
Some people felt that he should have done more.
Did the press conference. I really thought they were gonna pull out of it just because of that.
So did I. I think that's a good point.
To be honest with you, I'm surprised that Cody gave the answer that he got without just pleading the fifth, because they asked Cody about the same kind of scenario when he was out there, and he gave more of a response, but it wasn't neither this way or that. But I am surprised that they let Cody even answer that question.
So the last thing I'll put in before we'll close out, let the rest of the guys come on here. Do they want to talk about a few other things? Situation is far from over. Anyone who else is close to Vince knows something. There is no way that they don't. Hayes, Pritchard, or even Levesque. God, I hope not, but it's highly possible. Of course it's possible. Yeah. It's his father-in-law.
Yeah, I'll put it this way. I could see this going down with Vince. I could see Vince being responsible for something like this.
Yeah.
I actually cannot see Brock Lesnar, the human being Brock Lesnar, being involved.
Well, Brock, I think it's a different thing. But Vince, I mean,
even involved in any way, because I don't know if you met Brock in person. Like, he's not a people person. He doesn't like being around people. He sticks to his own business, his own life, his own routine. He doesn't do anything other than
not like Craven Rage.
Mind his own fucking business.
Not like you and Craven Rage. When you and Craven are always hobnobbing, definitely not like that then, right?
But no, Brock Lesnar is one of them guys. He comes to work, he goes home, he minds his business.
Yeah, there's a lot of people like that in the wrestling business. Listen, I've interviewed a lot of wrestlers. There's guys that come on Sportswire and they've got the personality of dry glue. There's some pro wrestlers. Not saying our yarders here, but yeah, I've seen it.
Judging from what I've seen of Brock, and I've met him twice in real life, I don't get that vibe from him. I get, okay, he's a fighter, sure.
He's not Bomber.
But to get that vibe that he would do something like to a woman, I don't get that. Vince, that's a whole nother ball.
Well, that's what Conrad and Jeff were talking about, that Vince has got issues going back to when he was a kid. I mean, there's a lot of issues there.
He had a live sex celebration on Raw with Edge and Lita.
And how about his daughter? Remember what happened with Stephanie on the air? I mean, all that stuff that went down. I mean, let's not even go there. I don't even want to bring it up because there's people watching and listening, and they're like, go and find it on
he sex promoted his own daughter.
Yes. I mean, listen, there's certainly a line to cross, but those are those things. All right. So you know what? We've obviously spoke a lot. The Sportswire Radio guys want to come on here. We'll bring them on in a couple of minutes. Let's get to closing thoughts. Randy, I'm going to give you the floor first. And this was a lot of fun. I hope TBK, you're ready for next week because we want to see you on camera and got a lot of talk about wrestling is as hot as it's ever been. And I want to give you the floor, Randy. Any closing thoughts? The floor is yours and fire away.
Thanks, Tom. I'll be short here just because I know the guys been waiting in the back for a while. Excited, the road to WrestleMania. The Vince
I'm pumped,
McMahon
Randy. I could
victory.
talk wrestling for the next 2 hours right now. I got to be honest. Baseball off season. I mean, I really ain't looking forward to it. Sorry, guys. You know,
it's going to be exciting. We got Sting's retirement match coming up. Great.
Yes.
Just going to quick note of the NHL. I know Chris Pizzea wanted me to bring this up. Nikita Kucherov, boy, a bad look for the NHL. What he did tonight in the skills competition. Listen, I know you don't want to be there, but put up. You're a professional. Put a face on a leaf. Half job, do it. Like, don't pretty much show I don't want to be there or opt out, do what Ovechkin's done. You've really kind of put yourself in a bad situation right now in the league, and fans are not happy with you.
And they shouldn't be happy. And you know what? I'll tell you what. If you don't want to be there, we'll put somebody else in there.
Exactly.
We got plenty of pros on Sportswire that would love to do it. You can follow Randy on Instagram and Twitter at Randy Dillon, DHILLON. And he's also the host of the Hockey Fan Chat, which you can find here on sportswireradio.org. And boy, I'm fired up for wrestling. I could go 2 hours on wrestling. You know, we want to give everybody else a chance. But looking forward to it, Randy. Coach, want to give you the floor. Want to give you some closing thoughts. And fire away, my friend. And God.
Fubar. What, Randy? What?
Coach. Just with the stuff you say, how you act, I respect what you do. You put me in a good mood.
I'll tell you what. I'll put you in a better now. Coach, I know you're going to be on Sportswire watching Sean Jovi on the air. He's going to be talking about Foundation. He's going to be talking Craven Rage. He's going to be talking about all the usual suspects. I know you're going to be there on that show tomorrow night.
So I got a bone to pick with IMF. And I hope they're watching right now. Somebody.
What do you have a problem with the IMF for?
So I've been this constant parading has come my way of, can you come to a show prior to Summer Bash? Do you think you can come out? We'd love it for you to make it. And I've asked 3 times now, give me a list of your show dates. So let me see what I can work out. And not Omen nor Soldier have responded to me with a list of their dates. From now, or from actually, this was back in December, from December all the way to Summer Bash. Give me a list of your freaking dates so I can make arrangements to see what's possible. Because, like I said the last time I was on here, if Soldier still has that championship and wants to do an open challenge sometime, maybe April, maybe May, he may get a ring from me.
Well, you know what? I would think Mick Foley's final hardcore death match would be the way to go, but you know, certainly that's something you want to discuss. Obviously,
it's not going to be a death match. It's going to be a wrestling match, and I mean wrestling, and we're going to see how good Soldier can wrestle.
Well, we'll find out. Obviously, Soldier's got to go through Tommy the Man Merriman first, and certainly, I'm sure Soldier's going to be here to talk about that very soon on Sportswire. And I'm sure you'll certainly see that, and I'm sure Soldier is definitely paying attention to that. I don't know anything about what's going on there. I certainly hope it works out, and we want to see you out there. We want to see them out there, and I definitely hope that whatever happens, that you guys are going to work it out.
You out there.
I'm not a wrestler. What I want to do, though, is obviously say that congratulations to you guys being Sportswire Radio Hall of Famers. I can't wait for Friday's show next week, and certainly we're looking forward to the future, and maybe we'll get those answers, and maybe Sean Jovi will know a thing or two about it. Yep. Anything else?
Other than that, I got no other final thoughts about wrestling this week. I'm just as kind of lost in the mix as everybody else, scratching their head, going, "What the fuck?"
I know, I think we're all going to be scratching our heads for that. That's for sure. And obviously we can follow you out there on the Chris Craven on YouTube. Also, we can catch you on your personal page on Facebook. I can't wait for next Friday at 10 o'clock. I'm ready to go another 3 more hours on wrestling, but the guys are here waiting backstage. We want to give them their chance and also induct another member into our Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, Justin Gianelli of the Baseball Banter Show. So, fellas, great stuff. TBK, better bring your camera on. I know you have it ready for us. I can't wait. And boy, I cannot wait to talk wrestling, and I can't wait for everything going on in the wrestling world. And you guys are going to certainly cover it and do a better job than I will next Friday. So thank you, fellas, as always, and keep up the great work, and we'll see you then.
Thanks, Tom. Always a pleasure.
All right, that was Mr. Randy Dillon. That was Mr. Coach Chris Craven. Let's bring on 2 guys here. And I guess we're waiting for one more here. We got Rob Maraska and we got Justin Gianelli of the Baseball Banter Show. Fellas, how you doing? I think I'm waiting on one more guy unless I'm missing something here. But obviously Friday night and a lot to talk about here in the world of sports. I mean, baseball, we got one more guy here. All right, looks like we got Chris Pizzea here. Certainly ain't going to be Brad Weiss because Brad Weiss is certainly gone. But gentlemen, I think, you know what? Obviously got Justin here. And I think it'd be a good time for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to induct our newest inductee into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. He has been our analyst for the past 2.5 years. He has been the host of the Baseball Banter, and he has certainly been a guy that's bantered about a number of different topics in the world of sports when it comes to baseball, football, basketball, hockey, and certainly he has been one of the more opinionated members in Sportswire Radio history. And when I think about all the different topics that we've gone about, and he's certainly spun it in his own way, at his own rights, and he's certainly become somebody that's been a staple in the 5-year history of Sportswire Radio. He's always been here as one of our premier analysts, and I think about everything that he's done, providing his hard-hitting analysis week after week, which has helped Sportswire Radio become the worldwide juggernaut that it is. Now you can hear us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year on sportswireradio.org. I think it is my great pleasure, and I hope that you join me in congratulating our 29th member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. He is the host of the Baseball Banter, and his name is Mr. Justin Gianelli. And Justin, you get your chance to now join the likes of your fellow colleagues, Chris Pizzea, also the Talking Rivals of Liftoff Jets, Rob Maraska, also from our Sportswire Radio dial, Bobby Tats, or Uncle Tats now, Rob Barrows, Donald Stewart, also from Via Work in Progress, the guys that we hear our podcast on throughout our internet radio station, and which is Piles, the mayor of Canton, and Glen Abbott, and you certainly get your chance to now join them. And also next week, our sit-down Dirty Bird, Primo, and AJ, they're going to join us for our host of podcasters that are here. Patrick Trotty is also from our Sportswire Radio team, used to be on our shows here Friday nights, is also in our Hall of Fame. So, Justin, congratulations. You were officially a member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, and I would like to obviously now put on the screen our official proclamation declaring you the 29th member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. And congratulations, and you've joined the rest of your colleagues in history, and alongside Ernest Dove. Ernest is also our analyst, also does his Mets minor report, and so many other people that have graced the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame throughout the world of sports and wrestling. And congratulations.
Yeah, Tom, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Getting to get in touch with you a couple of years ago and being able to be on the show every Friday night for pretty much the last 3 or so years.
2.5 years. Yep.
Yeah, about 2.5, 3 years. It's truly been a blast. Rob, Chris, it's been great getting to shoot the breeze of sports for the last couple of years. And, I'm deeply humbled. I'm deeply honored because, what you do for Sportswire Radio, Tom, is nothing but greatness. And you've had great success with your channel. And, we're continue to grow. Especially being live on YouTube, I feel like has been an absolute smashing success. And, I look forward to more success over the years to come. And, I know one thing, the Sportswire Radio brand is certainly growing, and it continues to grow. And the sky, I think the sky's the limit for all of our potential and what we really have here. So I just want to thank you, Tom, again. This honor is, not something you take lightly, and I'm deeply appreciative.
Well, you definitely earned it. You've definitely provided your hard-hitting analysis, and I definitely think that those that have been here in the community that have certainly gone out there and week after week, and I think about Sportswire Radio, and I think about the history of the platform. I always am a believer to give those the opportunity that would shine in. Obviously, everybody here that's in the Hall of Fame has helped the platform grow, and I definitely think that the YouTube channel has certainly grown substantially. We're over 500 subscribers now, and there are people that tune into these shows and they watch them regularly. And I think we've garnered just about 4,000 plus views alone on YouTube in the last 30 days, and I think we've gained almost 10,000 viewers in about 90 days. So it tells you that people they're tuning into Sportswire. It's a slow build, but obviously with our website, sportswireradio.org, you've also in the Hall of Fame because of a podcast that you've done on and off throughout these years called the Baseball Banter. We've had the opportunity to play it on our social media platforms, and I think that's also a big part of why you're in the Hall of Fame. You've also provided your analysis on different shows on our platform, such as the Talking Rivals, also Neil Villapiano's Devil's State of Mind, Randy Dillon's Hockey Fan Chat. So you've been on other podcasts, and I think that you've done a great job in, giving us the world of sports from your viewpoint and your lenses. And I think that that's why you are going to be in history books. Obviously, you can give me a photo. We can use the Baseball Banter photo for you. You can certainly give that to me when we're off the air. And I think I have your email, so I'll email you the physical citation. But I always like to recognize those. And we have a great class, by the way. We now have actually tomorrow night, Sean Joby concludes our third class. We've had a really great class that's in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, and we're going to start our new class on Monday with a guy that played in the NCAA Final Four in college basketball. He's actually, a matter of fact, from the first and only team in the entire history of the City of New York Athletic Conference to have played in any sport in the Final Four. His name is Dan Burns, and he's going into our Hall of Fame. So we really have a really great Hall of Fame class. We have great talent from not just the wrestling world, but Ernest Stubb, obviously, our Mets analyst, Mets minors, and obviously all the great podcasts on the Sportswire platform, certainly the Talking Rivals, the Pinstripe Chronicles, your channel, the Baseball Banter, also a work in progress. The Sit Down Marks join the Hall of Fame next Thursday night, 7:30 p.m. But we have a great group of shows and a great group of presenters. And I think it's important to recognize our presenters because you guys have been out there. Yes, we have the big guests. We have the big names that have been on here each and every week. They certainly have sold the product. Obviously, we wouldn't be here where we were if it wasn't for our guests selling Sportswire, allowing us to promote it. But, it's you guys that have been here all through these years and giving your hard-hitting analysis as to why we've actually grown and will continue to grow. So there you go, Justin. Congratulations. I also want to say hello to some more people. Yes, definitely deserves it. We definitely wanted to recognize Justin. Congratulations from Jules. Yes, absolutely. And colleagues, you guys want to say anything to Justin before we talk a little bit about the world of sports? I know, Rob Maraska, you got some stuff you want to talk about. Mets made a few moves. I ain't going to get too excited, but there are some other moves. There was a big trade between the Mariners and the Twins, so we could talk about that. Certainly some other moves. But anything would you else guys like to say about Justin joining you guys in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I just want to congratulate Justin. He does a great job. He knows a lot about all sports, and definitely, I enjoy listening to him and talking, baseball and sports with him. And congratulations, Justin.
Thank you.
Yeah, Justin, man, congratulations. You're awesome. Just chatting with you here on Friday nights. I learned a lot from you as well. You're a guy that could probably jump on anybody's podcast and be a great guest or a great co-host. So congratulations on this, without a doubt.
Thank you, Chris.
No, you definitely earned it. And somebody actually asked me the other day, when are you going to induct yourself in the Hall of Fame? Well, I'm actually trying to avoid that because I don't need to be in the Hall of Fame. I just want to give people the opportunity. It was kind of a running joke because somebody was comparing me to a guy that's basically been canceled. We just spoke about him earlier in the wrestling world, but I'm trying to avoid that. But no, you definitely earned it. You definitely have given your hard-hitting analysis throughout the years, and you've been a knowledgeable presenter. You've definitely given us some entertaining and fun banner throughout the years on our Friday shows, especially in the Friday shows. Really, the reason I continue to still do them for the most part is that's how I started in my career. It was always Fridays was the time you'd start when we do the back when I was a podcast. And I always believe in the Friday show still being our kind of flagship. And it's great now because our DJ 80 is back and he was back earlier today. So it's great that we have a nice little 1-2 punch on sportswireradio.org via the Listen Live button. If you have a podcast out there, you're more than welcome to be able to present your show and anything else you want to play out there. But I believe that we have a nice little combo back. And I think that you've been a huge part of that. So certainly congratulations. But we'll keep the banner up for a few minutes. But yes, there is some baseball news. There is some news. We'll talk a little bit about football. Ron Franklin, I'll bring him in for about 20 or so minutes toward the end. But there was, I guess you'd want to say, maybe a sort of substantial trade between the Mariners and Twins. And, Rob Maraska, I'm going with you first because you're our resident baseball guy. And I know Justin will certainly give us some baseball banter. And Chris, I listened to Chris, your show with Patrick a couple of times here throughout the last few days. So really enjoyed that. But Rob Maraska, give me your thoughts on the Mariners and Twins making sort of a big trade. Jorge Polanco goes to the Mariners. And, some other guys go back to the Twins, and maybe a few other moves we'll talk about afterwards. But give me your thoughts on all that.
Yeah, no, that was a good trade. I didn't even see that coming. I just wanted to bring something up real quick, if that's okay with you. Not about the Mets or anything.
Okay, I was gonna say Met memories. I was like,
no.
Okay.
I just wanted to say something about other teams and stuff before we get into trades and Mets and everything.
Absolutely, sure.
But
okay.
Last week we talked about the Kansas City Royals, and you put a clip up. Okay. Yeah. And something like this happened last year also when we talked about the Oakland A's. That clip got over 6,000 views. Okay. Wow. I shared it out there with with the Royals TV station and the Royals radio station and newspapers, and it got a lot of hits for Kansas City Royals. And the same thing happened last year when we were talking about the Oakland A's moving to Vegas. That got over 5,000, 6,000 hits. And people were talking about it, and they were getting mad at us because of what we were saying. But the point is, when we do other teams besides the New York teams, people out there do listen to it.
Well, I think there's people that have, people want to hear different things. It's based on, what's trending. And, sometimes, we listen, we want to talk about New York. But, New York's not always the flavor of the moment. Obviously, Corbin Burns, I want to throw out there. We'll certainly talk about the Corbin Burns trade. That's obviously a big deal for the Orioles. Orioles get a big fish. But I think, sometimes what it is that, we think we're so hyper. In politics, they use a term that you're so hyper partisan or you're hyper focused on certain issues. And sometimes that on the platform, we can be kind of a victim of that. And I think that sometimes when you talk about other things or other topics, people seem to want to tune in and hear those things. I think that's also a part of, what plays into why people want to hear so much about the Kansas City Royals or the Oakland A's or, anybody else that might be outside of the Mets or certainly the Yankees.
Yeah, definitely. And you just mentioned you just mentioned Baltimore, where
yes,
finally they're gonna be free from Angelo's finally.
I heard some big name owners too. The Orioles, our buddy TBK out there. Yes, some big name owners could be in the play. Grant Hill, I heard, could be a part of that group. And Mayor Bloomberg, Michael Bloomberg, the New York City ex-mayor, ran for president. I suppose you could say he did run for president. But I mean, the point is that there's some big owners there that could be bringing into some money for a franchise that hasn't been a big fish in a while.
And who better than O's legend Cal Ripken Jr. being involved?
Absolutely. Yep. That was going to be my next one. Yep.
So that, and they're right now they're worth over, they're $1.725 billion. Okay. So think about it. So they made the trade, getting Burns, and that just shows me that the Baltimore Orioles are now serious. We talked about them last year, season, what was going on with them. And this trade is a big trade. So Baltimore Orioles fans should be excited about what's going on with that team.
Well,
their future looks great.
They're throwing a parade already, Rob. Trust me.
I was going to ask that, now where does that put the Orioles? Does that put them, now even more distance with everybody else in the American League? I mean, certainly they were up there, winning over 100 games, and it was a storybook season. But now you've got a legitimate ace to a young team that could be here for years to come. So, yeah, this is a good topic to talk about. I mean, what do you guys make of that?
Yeah. Well, I'd like to hear what Chris has to say about it, because Baltimore and the Yankees are going to go head to head, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, no, definitely. You know what? Now you look at the Orioles as basically the Dodgers of the East Coast, right?
Pretty much.
They're going to have the money backing now, and have that great farm system. So now you get a young team just going to start adding players. Now, this is just the start of it. Next year in free agency, I'm sure they're going to go big into free agency. So, the Orioles are going to be big players. Right now, they're definitely the favorite. And I'll be honest, I wouldn't keep them out of any other trade talk either, because they still have all their top prospects, right? Yeah. They gave, basically nothing for this guy. I know DL Hall came up a little bit last year.
Yeah.
Looked okay, but he's not one of their best prospects. And the shortstop, that's the one thing where they got anyway. They got what's his name coming up.
And they get a I think
Holiday.
doesn't Milwaukee get a like late early second round pick?
Comp pick,
like
like a 34th pick or something, 34th.
Second round pick.
Yeah.
So it was a great trade. It probably weighs to the Oriole favor a little bit more because they're going to have Burns, but he's only here for a year. You don't know. I mean, he's going to be a free agent.
Well, it's a gamble. You know what? It's a gamble.
It's worth it, though.
I was going to say it's a gamble to move. Obviously Polanco's trade, that was another one where, a team like the Mariners who didn't do much this offseason, they make a move.
And they needed a bat, the Mariners, right? And they gave up, basically nothing for him. They got a decent amount of guys, but not, anybody top. As long as Polanco stays healthy, that's been his kind of issue the last
couple of years ago. He hit 36 home runs or something like that, but the last 2 years he's kind of dropped off a little bit. I mean,
I still think they're a bat or two away from really competing, but the West is also going to be up for grabs, right? Because you don't know what's going on with the Rangers with all their injuries in their rotation. And then, you look at the Astros, what like they're at the end of their rope, right? So this might be their last year for their, until they start kind of rebuilding themselves. So, this could be could be any one of those teams.
And the Twins, you got to give them credit in a way.
I like the Twins in that division.
They flipped Polanco, but then they just signed Carlos Santana, 23 and 86.
Yeah.
That's a nice, and you got him for 1 year, $5 million, and you got DeSclafani, you got a couple guys, whatever you get, but. So now you're starting to see a little bit of progress. And then unfortunately for Met fans, they wanted Justin Turner, but he goes to the Blue Jays 1 year, $13 million. And, what do you guys think of some of that there?
No, nothing great, right?
Okay move for Toronto.
Yeah.
Does that mean another big name that's out there still, Matt Chapman? Does that mean that he's going somewhere else? I mean, the Giants seem to be linked with him, right?
Sounds like the Giants and the Cubs have been the two teams linked on Chapman. But I mean, going back to Burns real quick. I mean,
sure.
The Baltimore Orioles went from a cute story to holy bleep, they're here to stay. And I have a hard time believing, especially with the new ownership rolling in here, that this Burns deal is just a one and done. I don't know that they'll get it done before this season, but I wouldn't quite rule it out if this ownership fully moves in. They want to stamp Corbin Burns as their first big move. There's a slight possibility they get him locked up before spring training ends, and look out now there's an ace for years to come, right? They got young pitching as well. They had some good young pitching last year, but they really need somebody to anchor that rotation, and that's exactly what they got. Like you said, the kid that they traded, the shortstop that they traded, blocked by Jackson Holiday and Gunnar Henderson. Henderson's probably going to move to second base when Holiday's ready, and that could be super soon. But Baltimore, I'll still give Texas a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, even though they have some pitching injuries, and we'll see what their first half of their season looks like without guys like DeGrom, Scherzer. Maybe they bring back Montgomery on a 1 year deal because Montgomery's not getting any offers. Snell's not getting any offers. I mean, there's some.
Well, Snell's priced himself out. We spoke about that last week on the show.
Well, that's the thing with that's one of the things that came out with I guess an article of with some of the Boris information. Apparently, they priced him at about 9 years, $270, and nobody's going to pay that much. No. Nobody's going to. I would be surprised if anybody even reached $200 million on Blake Snell. But
yeah, I agree.
We'll see if other teams dip into those pitchers, because they're going to have to lower their value if they're going to want to sign, because you got basically 2 weeks until pitchers and catchers report, and
February 8th,
and as a pitcher, you don't want to be late into camp, or else your April's going to be all screwed up.
Yep.
You want to add anything on that, Rob? I see you nodding your head there a little bit.
No, I agree. You definitely don't want to go into spring training late, because forget it. Not only is your April messed up, your May's messed up too, I think, before you could really get into the groove of things.
Yeah.
So, I think I think they're going to have to come down with their demands and prices and stuff, because before you know it, what is it, 13 days away now? Yeah,
we're February now. Listen, I've been saying every Friday we're on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're in the middle of winter, so now you think about it, like we're halfway there, which means you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. So baseball is going to be starting at the end of the month.
We're a month and a half away from Dodgers Padres in Seoul, and that's a week before the standard opening day.
And and at the end of the month we get spring training games. So we're actually it's getting there. I know, and winter, I know it's tough, but the good news was the groundhog. So we're getting early spring, and if you buy into that stuff, and I think the forecast here in New York is not supposed to be like in the 20s and teens, supposed to be in the 40s most of the next 2 weeks. So we're getting there. We're getting there. It's not. Absolutely. So I think at the end of the day, you like this, but again, there's still some free agents out there, and Bellinger and Chapman and Snell. But I think Snell certainly prices himself out. Mets do make a couple of moves, Rob. I mean, I'll bring it up here. Jake Dykman and somebody else I can't even pronunciate. But Dykman's a name that we've heard before. Helps the Met bullpen a little bit. I mean, because we're here, I'll let you speak about it a little bit.
Yeah, $4 million. They're giving him $4 million. He's left-hander. They're doing these moves now. No big excitement. They also signed
Shintaro Fujinami. Yeah. Shintaro Fujinami.
But he had a 7.18 ERA last year. When he would, that was with the A's basically. Then when he got traded to the Orioles, I think it was like 3.35 for them, but it was still 7.18. He's not the Japanese reliever we wanted, but what are you going to do? They signed him for a year. It looks like they're doing the bargain basement stuff this season. And, we're just going to, I think that they're just, to me, it looks like they're just shooting for, the wild card and play.
And the other signing was Adam Ottavino. We basically re-signed him $4.5 million.
Is solid now with those guys. If you think about it, it's not a bad bullpen. And listen, if they get to the playoffs, anything is possible, right? We've seen what the D-backs did last year, and I'm not insulting them at all. I'm just saying, getting to the playoffs is what it's all about now.
Well, let me ask you guys a follow-up as we hear Chris Pizzea, Rob Maraska, and Justin Gianelli, our Sportswire Radio Hall of Famers here. We're speaking all things related here in the world of sports, especially the Major League Baseball offseason. About 20 or so minutes. We'll spend a few minutes on the NFL and the Super Bowl, and we'll bring Ron Franklin in there for a few minutes. He'll give us his thoughts. But, speaking of that, the Milwaukee Brewers obviously make this big trade. They're certainly going in through a transition. So does that mean that one playoff spot could be open potentially because a team like the Milwaukee Brewers could be waving the white flag? Is that maybe something that you guys thinking a little bit there?
Well, it opens up it definitely opens up the National League Central here. I do think it's going to be a transitional year. Obviously, it's the first year since I think 2014, 2015, since without Craig Counsell as their manager. Obviously, he's now the manager of the Cubs. The Cubs to me are interesting. I mean, they always promise that they're going to spend.
Yeah, we're still waiting for them. They get Ross. They get Ross out as manager, bring Counsell in, but they've really done nothing.
I personally think they'll bring back Bellinger. I don't know if Chapman ends up there or not. We'll see what happens. Obviously, the prices could come down as we get closer to spring training. The Reds were an exciting, fun team last year that almost made the wild card.
Yeah.
They should have a shot in the National League Central. I don't know what to make.
Pittsburgh made some moves if you count Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh made good moves, but can't expect much out of them. And the Cardinals, they're in a weird spot.
That tells me the division's wide open. So what that means is, if you're a team like the Mets, you're some other teams. The Padres also we expect to take a drop.
Yeah, but were you really expecting a wild card to come out of the Central?
No,
I don't think it's really. So the Brewers taking a step back really only affects the National League Central teams.
But if you look at the National League overall, my point was that you've got the Padres have definitely taken a step back, even though they brought Wandy Peralta in, big deal. They've definitely taken a step back.
Yes,
the Brewers have taken a step back. So if you look at it,
I don't know what to expect out of the Giants either. I really don't know what to expect out of the Giants. So, I mean, is it possible that last wild card is up for grabs for the Mets?
If we know that 84 wins got the
it very well could, because do I trust the Marlins No, I'll right now put the Mets as the third best team in the National League East, right? You got the Phillies, who are a good lock for 90 to 92 wins. The Braves are always a good lock between
High 90s.
96 and 100.
D-backs.
We know the Dodgers are going to be the heavy favorites in the West. I would expect the Diamondbacks to take a step forward, win close to 90 games this year. And so really, I mean, there's one spot, right? You talk you talk about the two runner-ups in the East and the West getting a wild card spot. Who's that last spot going to go to? Is it going to be the Giants? Is it the Padres making a surprise run? Or maybe there are two teams in the Central. I don't see it.
But that would tell you that, you know what, if we knew 84 got the last spot last year, the year before was 86, right? So that means that, you know what?
And both those teams ended up in the World Series.
And you know what? If your teams like the Marlins, teams like the Mets, let's say you're somebody else.
You'll be in the mix for sure. I think so. I mean, if
So
you play 500 ball, you're going to be in the mix until September, right?
Well, I mean, and that's the new norm. That's the new norm in Major League Baseball. And that obviously tells you, you know what? If you're the Mets and you're these other teams, you're the Marlins of this young team, and they certainly didn't. Jorge Soler, it looks like they're not bringing him back. That was a big bat for them.
It's a big loss for Miami. Unless his price significantly goes down. But one of the things I like that David Stearns is doing is he's bringing in a bulk of relievers, and the Mets are developing this new pitching lab on that's basically been funded by Steve Cohen. Things that we weren't able to afford under the Wilpon ownership, and this pitching lab supposedly can help fix some pitchers, and hopefully that the more relievers you bring in, the better, right? They're bringing in known commodities, whether everybody's familiar with them or not. These guys have major league service time, and they're not just throwing Joe Schmo that really should be a AAA. These guys are major league relievers. Now, whether they're good relievers, bullpens fluctuate from year to year, right? There's every chance Ottavino turns it around, and he wasn't even terrible last year. He just wasn't what he was.
Well, I guess that's the point. If you're going to be the optimist and say, well, you know what? Again, on the Mets, McNeil didn't have a good year. Alonso, certainly, other than the home runs, didn't do much for you. Marte was hurt. You hope to get maybe a little bit more discipline at the plate from Alvarez.
Right.
You're hoping Mauricio comes back in the second half. Pitching, couldn't be as bad as it was last year. You got Senga. Okay, fine. You hope that you get something out of Quintana, some of these other guys. And then you've certainly improved maybe the bullpen a little bit, work in progress. So you got Diaz coming back.
I'm still concerned about not having a legitimate designated hitter option. I understand that there's upside and potential of a full year of Mark Vientos, because he's got some raw power. We saw at the end of last year in September, when he had a strong September, he's got raw power. But with that being said, I can't, especially knowing that the Mets seem like they're just going to go into this year with Brett Beatty as the third baseman. I can't comfortably go into the year with Mark Vientos as my DH. I was not really keen on bringing back Justin Turner. I want a guy like Jorge Soler, because I'm still not sure what I'm going to get out of Starling Marte. And
Grady Martinez is out there.
In a perfect world, Jorge Soler plays the bulk of right field, and the Mets DH Marte. In a perfect world, because that really keeps him off his legs. Now, granted, Marte has a tremendous arm for right field, so you kind of want him out there. But if his legs aren't responding properly, you could DH Marte a little bit more.
And also, before I do anything else, I want to give a huge happy birthday. I want to give a happy birthday to the other half of one of our Hall of Famers. He is the third member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. He is one half of the XCW Tag Team Champions, Justin Parsley. His better half, Mandy, obviously Amanda, she's having a birthday today. So happy birthday, Amanda. Thank you for your support here over the past year on Sportswire Radio. Hope you have a wonderful day. Hope it's a blessed one. And thank you for allowing your other half, Mr. Parsley, to come onto Sportswire Radio from time time to time, and also be into our Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. So I hope you have a great day out there. I hope you have a happy birthday. I hope you have many birthdays ahead. And certainly I look forward to hopefully maybe seeing you in XCW later this season. And obviously, happy birthday to you. And also, big shout out to Justin Parsley, the first real wrestler, one half of the XCW Tag Team Champions. And happy birthday there to you, Amanda. Hope you have a wonderful rest of the day and birthday. And we'll see you here more on the way. But obviously, when it comes to, I'll get a couple more things on baseball. And then it's up to you, Rob, if you want to stay for the Super Bowl talk for 20 minutes. I ain't going to spend too long on it. But I'll bring Ron Franklin in a minute. But, there's still free agents. Bellinger's out there. I mean, will he sign or won't he sign? I mean, there's still some other names out there. Jorge Soler's out there. JD Martinez out there. So if you're the Mets, Rob Maraska, listen, JD Martinez could be a guy you'd like to bring in. He's been a Met killer in the past.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that. I'm with Justin on, I'm not comfortable with the, what's going on with the DH now either, So I would not mind seeing them sign Martinez for a year. But also remember one other thing too. We're going to have in the bullpen, we're going to have a healthy Edwin Diaz. Okay.
Yes.
That's a big plus. So
that and wins right there.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I think that's the optimistic point. You look at it. What did you win? 75
last year.
You won 75. You got Diaz back for a full year. Maybe you think McNeil bounces back. You get hopefully something out of Marte. I mean, you get a full year out of Alvarez, a full year out of Vientos. Mauricio comes in the second half, maybe gives you some spark. I mean, you got Alonso and a Walker, you got Lindor, so you got those parts. Maybe you get something out of Quintana and pitching. You sign some of these guys in the bullpen. Maybe you can get to 83, 84 wins, and you fight and live a day. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but conversely, coming over to you, Chris, obviously Orioles make this big move. Does it concern you with the Yankees? I mean, Snell, I wouldn't bring him in for 9 years either. I speak to people, and some people say, yeah, go for it, but I still wouldn't do it. But how you feeling right now?
Yeah, no, I mean, I wanted to add to the bullpen. That's where I think the Yankees are lacking. I think their rotation is set right now, unless they make a trade. Snell, they tried, I think 5 for 160, but he turned that down. And that so far has been the only offer that Snell's gotten from anybody. So I wonder if he says, oh, okay, he comes back to the Yankees and tries to look for that offer again. And I don't think the Yankees are going to give it to him now. Excuse me. But I really wanted the Yankees to sign Hader because
you spoke about that on the podcast with Patrick. Yeah. Yep, I heard that line.
And you know what? We do have Holmes, but Holmes is a free agent after this year. So you're going to have to sign somebody, whether it's Holmes, after this year or someone else. So I thought, bringing in Hader would have been great, at least for the 1 year. You got Holmes and Hader as your back end of the bullpen, and just strengthens that bullpen. Because right now, it's good, but if Holmes goes down, who's going to be the closer? You're counting on Loaizaga, who's hurt every year, so you can't count on that guy. So who's going to be the closer? So that's kind of concerns me. Starting, I think we're okay as long as everybody stays healthy and Rodon bounces back, which I would assume he has to.
It can't get any bad like that. What we saw.
Yeah, he can't go another year. So I would assume he'll bounce back. It's just a matter of health, But that's with the whole team when you think about it. With the Yankees, if they stay healthy, yeah, it's a team that you gotta really be concerned about, and they should be a playoff team if everyone stays healthy. Relatively healthy. Obviously, injuries are going to happen, but Baltimore is definitely the favorite to win the division and probably to win the American League right now, as we speak. But you never know. You never know what's going to happen.
You look at it and say, okay, Toronto's probably taking a step back a little bit. Their offseason was definitely disappointing. Boston, I mean, you and Patrick have spoken about this like a dead horse, and Boston's offseason has been pretty much next to nothing. So you would think they'd take a step back. Tampa, I mean, I know Tampa's always Tampa, but you can't expect them to win almost 100 games again. So that certainly opens it up for the Yankees to come back based on the moves they made. So a good offseason. I know it's not the offseason. You wanted two more parts. You got the American League Central. Okay, Minnesota, I like some of the moves they've made. Detroit, all right, Kansas City, but I don't think Kansas City is ready to go from 100 losses to 85 wins. But we think one team only comes out of the Central. You got the West. Okay, Seattle's always seems to be, around 86 to 89, 90 wins. All right.
Seattle's got the pitching. They're going to be in it with that pitching.
Seattle, I think, they'll probably be around the same number. Houston in Texas.
They'll figure it out.
And the Angels are going to be, again, at the bottom, and Oakland's going to be probably 110 losses again. So, I mean, ultimately, that tells you that, look, the Yankees can come back because you're going to see probably down numbers from Tampa, Boston, probably Toronto. The Central, one of them will win the cluster. And then, the West, I would say probably the question will be, can Texas repeat winning the amount of games that they won based on the injuries? And Seattle is kind of, maybe adjusted a little bit to their off season, but that's kind of where we are in the, in the American League, in the National Leagues here so much. I think that's
I think with Texas, and I think they're going to probably end up signing Montgomery, right? Because he's been linked there the whole off season.
Yeah,
they were waiting for their TV deal to kind of work itself out, and I think it has. So I think it's just a matter of time before he goes back to Texas, because nobody else has really gone after him too, because he's another one like Snell. He's asking for too much money. Montgomery pitched great in the postseason, but let's be honest, the guy's in middle of the rotation.
It's all these, in a common theme. Most of these guys are all Boris clients, and the Boris guys are just asking for so much. And I guess, Rob, if you want to hang out for another 15 minutes, I'm going to talk about the games real quick and go into the Super Bowl if you want. Okay, Ron Franklin was here and he left. We'll certainly bring him back on. So maybe we'll transition to football. And obviously, we were all maybe hoping for on Sportswire Radio our Detroit Lions. And I think most people in America outside of, let's say, the Kansas City Chiefs fans were hoping for the Baltimore Ravens. Our buddy TBK was certainly pulling for the Ravens. But this year's Super Bowl we had here is going to be the now San Francisco 49ers after the 49ers came back. And boy, that's a choke one on Dan Campbell and the Lions. And then the Kansas City Chiefs, the veteran teams, they find a way to win. And I guess I want to ask you guys, and what do you think on recapping the games? And I'm sure we'll pick some of it next week. But give me your thoughts on what happened as now I bring in Ron Franklin once again with us. There you go, Ron.
Tom, I just want to say the Lions, that was such a disappointment. I mean, when they were up, I thought, you know what, they're definitely going to do it, and it definitely was a choke job. It was.
Oh my God, to be up 17 at halftime. I mean,
it was painful to watch that the second half of that game. Let me tell you.
And what were they thinking? Not going get the points
for the field goal. I don't know.
What are you thinking? Is the last game before you go to the Super Bowl. Hello, you haven't been to a Super Bowl ever. You haven't won a championship in You haven't been to a Super Bowl. You haven't won a championship of any sort since, well, not even you were alive. I mean, that tells you that that's what you should be doing. Seriously. I mean, you and Bobby Tats are certainly our resident, certainly veterans here. But the point is that nobody on this platform has seen the Detroit Lions win anything. You got to go for the points. I mean, I know we had one guy on this show who used to be, he was quote unquote the brute force. He's probably so downtrodden about the Lions. He can't ever show his face to Sportswire Radio because he can't tell us, because he clearly can't speak for himself. He clearly doesn't have a mind for himself because he's a doofus pretty much. But the fact of the matter is that, he deserves it. He definitely, he hasn't commented, said nothing. Hey guys, hey, I'm alive. I'm coaching basketball. I don't have a voice. Tell us what you feel. Tell us what's on your mind. But he clearly can't do that. But the fact of the matter is that the Detroit Lions haven't been in this spot in almost 70 years. You got to get those points.
Yeah, they choked.
You know what? I'll say this. I agreed with the first one. The first time they didn't go for it, right? Because that would have made it. They were up by 17 at the time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I get that first one because they knew, I think, their mentality was, listen, if we get this first down, we're going to drive the rest of the field and we're going to put the first nail in the coffin in this team, right? So I thought that was I was okay. I was okay with that. But the second one, Detroit had all the momentum going there. I mean, San Fran had all the momentum going there.
They had just scored. Yep.
Detroit needed something. They needed to.
You needed something to kind of push them back a little bit.
Yeah. So listen, let's put the 3 points up on the board. let's give and
You know
also
what it
give our
reminded
defense
me
a
of?
little bit
It
of
reminded me of,
confidence.
in a way, do you remember, and we'll bring Ron Franklin, hi Ron, in a second, in Green Bay, Dallas kind of had a little bit of momentum in that first half going into the second half, but what did Green Bay do right afterwards? They got points. It kind of pushed him back where,
Right.
okay, now you still got the momentum. The Lions could have did that, and it wound up not being, and it totally changed the entire game right afterwards.
Right. That's why I thought that I understood the first one because Detroit had all the momentum going their way. So I figured, all right, you know what? Yeah, and that's been their MO the whole season, right? That's how Dan Campbell does it. I'm going for it.
He's a gambler. He's basically a riverboat Ron.
Yeah, so the first one I talked myself into, but the second one, no, you can't go for it there. There's no way. You put the points up, kind of slow down the momentum, give your defense a little bit more confidence. Because to me, by going for it, you're showing, all right, I don't trust my defense at this point, right? I can't.
And the defense was great in the first half. They played a great first half. Right. I don't know why you would have wanted to change away from that.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it made no sense.
Yeah, I totally agree. So, and then after that, it was all over.
And how you doing, Ron? And also for you, Justin, somebody's here. I'm here, Justin. I love you. So if you do love Justin, you hope you love Justin a little further because now he's in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. He's our 29th member. So if you love Justin,
he's got a fan.
You get to see this. Well, we have many fans on Sportswire Radio. So I want to make sure that our fan gets to see that your place is in history. So let's let you talk, Justin, in front of your fan before we see Ron Franklin. But Justin, give me a take first on the Lions and 49ers before I go back to the Chiefs and Ravens, where I know people are going to have their opinions pretty much. I know what that's going to be. Give me your thoughts on all that.
Well, first, let me say hi to that's my girlfriend, Julia. So let me say hi.
Thank you, Julia, for allowing us to borrow Justin these past 2.5 years. Thank you, Julia, for your support. Julia, we really should be inducting you in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame because you have allowed us to, borrow Justin for all these years. So maybe I should be inducting you also into the Hall of Fame. So obviously, congratulations.
With that being said, listen, Dan Campbell coached the way Dan Campbell was always going to coach. And listen, it came back to bite them. He talked about biting on kneecaps. Well, he ended up biting his own ass is what he did. Listen, the first fourth down when they in the second half, right when San Francisco got the ball, they scored. Detroit held them to a field goal to make it 14.
24-10.
It's 24-10 at that point. I would have just taken the field goal because, listen, you go back up 3 scores, you kind of demoralize San Francisco a little bit. You're like, yeah, we did all that work to, we settled for a field goal, but then Detroit goes on this long drive and they just got a field goal. I feel like we didn't get anything out of it, and instead you get the momentum, you get the stop, and all of a sudden the offense gets rolling. Purdy and McCaffrey and Samuel and Kittle, they all got into that rhythm. And they really just couldn't stop the avalanche, Detroit. And the second one I didn't really have a problem with. I kind of liked that second fourth down play. It just, it didn't work out. But listen, Dan Campbell's going to coach the way he coaches. But it's crazy. I think I posted the stat in the group chat on Sunday. Teams were 21-0 in conference championship games when leading by 17 or more points at halftime. They were the first.
Yeah, I was live on the air, and when I was looking at the TV screen as I was on the air, I'm like, okay, we're going to win this. Basically, as a Lions booster on sports, I'm okay, they're going to finally have history. I felt great. And then I see right afterwards, San Francisco got the 3 points, and then they didn't go for the field goal. That game totally afterwards was like it was off to the races. That was
It's not quite the Super Bowl, but Kyle Shanahan slightly redeems himself for 28-3 by erasing this 24-7 deficit. And listen, good for the Niners. I mean, Kyle Shanahan arguably the best coach of the league right now.
4 championship games in 5 years, 2 Super Bowls. And how about this? They've actually been to the most NFC championship games in the entire history.
This was their 19th appearance.
So think about this, and we'll say hello to you, Ron, in a second. but there's been 54 championship games since the AFL-NFL merger. The 49ers have been in more than a third of them. That tells you that franchise, I know a lot of that starts really mostly when Joe Montana came around. But if you look at that, let's see. I think there was like maybe 2 appearances in the 70s.
With John Brody as the quarterback.
Yeah, they had a couple in the 70s. But you really think about it, since like 1981, 1980, they've been into almost half of the championship games in the league. That tells you that that's a franchise that's been a model franchise in winning. Harbaugh had good years there. Certainly, Mariucci had a couple good years. George Seifert, obviously. I mean, George Seifert had him on autopilot. Certainly, Bill Walsh, and now Shanahan. So that's a franchise really that championship game. That certainly says a lot. And Ron Franklin, how are you tonight, my friend? I hope you're doing well. And I should have had you on with that Rhea Ripley shirt at the beginning of the show, but that's okay. You're here to talk about these championship games. Let me get your thoughts on the Lions and the 49ers before we go over to the Taylor Swift Bowl. But, what did you think? Yeah, people want to talk Taylor. People like her. People don't like her, but she's a lightning rod. But, Ron, what did you think as the Lions came up short and unfortunately continue not to ever play in a Super Bowl? And the 49ers, well, they're back for the second time in 5 years, and they have a chance to win their 6th Super Bowl as they get their 8th appearance here.
Well, honestly, I would say came up short. It would be a bit of an understatement because you were up so much at the half or first half, and then you turn around and pretty much throw your season away because you have a coach that was 0-16 with you guys when he played for them. And I don't know why you would hire a coach like that who played for you guys when you had no wins. And you did all that in the regular season and part of the playoffs just to screw it up. And that's exactly why I don't root for division rivals because of stuff like that, because they were representing our division and you go and lose to a team that knocked us out the week before. So it's like pretty much what we tell the Bears, the Lions still suck, pretty much.
Okay. I mean, Ron, certainly, though, he had a lot of success, Dan Campbell, the last 2 years. I understand the frustration. I think that most of America was rooting for the Lions, obviously a franchise that, again, has not won a championship of any sort since 1957. I mean, 1957, it's certainly, a long time. And it's a franchise that won 2 playoff games this year. And if I'm not mistaken, had won only 1 playoff game since the AFL-NFL merger back in 1970, only 91. We've heard that all the time here in Sportswire. 91, that one win. Yep.
And I will tell you, since you said 1957, my dad is 64 or 65 years old. He wasn't even born yet. So
well,
it's
we were
like,
speaking about it here. We, our longest tenured analyst, Rob Maraska, doesn't even remember that because he wasn't even born. And we have another guy who's called Uncle Tats, Bobby Tats, in our Hall of Fame, and he's pretty old too, and he doesn't even remember it. I mean, Bobby Tats. I love Bobby. I mean, it was an honor to be on his podcast, the Pinstripe Chronicles. They're in our Hall of Fame, by the way. So we love Donald Stewart and Rob Barros and Bobby Tats. But even Bobby Tats wasn't born when the Detroit Lions, won a championship. That tells you that the futility of this franchise. I mean, I would hope that they come back, and as I see people coming back, is what people want to hear football. But let's then talk about the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens, I really felt like that this, and I want to actually give TBK credit for this because I felt like the Baltimore Ravens could have won this game, but they beat themselves. Is that a fair statement for you guys? And that the Baltimore Ravens, yes, Kansas City got the score early. Baltimore responded, but too many times Lamar Jackson continues to prove in big games that he can't win. But you had chance after chance after chance, and you could have won that game still. Kansas City kept them in it, and they continue to show why they're champions. But what do you guys make of all that?
Yeah, I totally agree. At the start, the Chiefs scored right away a couple of times early on, and it looked like, all right, the Ravens defense is not going to be able to hold them. But
they
They shut them down the rest of the way, right?
Yeah.
So, but offensively, again, like you said, Lamar Jackson just cannot get it going. I know Zay Flowers had the big drop or the fumble, but
Time and time again, you're in the red zone. You got to cash in.
Yeah.
Kansas City,
and you know what?
And Kansas City, despite having the first, and I know you guys, you and Sharma are going to talk about this. We're going to hear it, the liftoff Jets today. Well, tomorrow, actually, because we're going to be live tomorrow. Before that, with Sean Jovi, I'm going to use your show as my lead in. But the facts is that Kansas City had the ball the first 36 minutes for 26 minutes. They didn't score after early in the game. You were in it to win.
Well, and you could see how Lamar Jackson played. He played kind of skittish. Like he was kind of afraid to run when he should have ran or thrown. Like he was it just didn't look like the Lamar Jackson we've seen all year.
No.
And that comes into play what we were talking about, the week before, that Lamar Jackson has this big monkey on his back. And until he wins the big game, right? Until he gets to a Super Bowl, that thing's going to get bigger and bigger. Right?
I think he and Josh Allen, very similar in that these guys can't win the big one. And Mahomes, everybody was like, this year it's a weak Kansas City team, and he's lost all the weapons. And,
and the Ravens were great all season.
They were dominant. Listen, we rattled off all the teams they blew out of the building. They blew out Detroit. They blew out Seattle. They beat the Rams. They beat Miami. Well, everybody beats Miami, but
but the Ravens were the one team.
Yep.
From week one till the end of the season and into the playoffs that was very consistent, and they played good.
They went to San Francisco. How about on Christmas? Baltimore went into San Francisco Monday night, blew them out of the building. I mean, Baltimore.
I thought this was the year.
Yeah,
I'll be honest. But I'm not going to doubt the Chiefs anymore. I'll be honest. The Chiefs are the Patriots now.
It was that was all on Jackson, like you said. Just watching that, they're in the red zone, and he just didn't
turn the ball over like that. You can't turn the ball over.
It was painful to watch.
It was.
That game was just disgusting.
You want to say something, Ron? Go ahead, Ron. Jump in.
So I'm hoping TBK is watching this because he's gonna be the buddy forever, of course.
Yes.
I did make a story on Instagram because in the moment I was heated because after Green Bay, of course, the Ravens were the second team I would root for. And after all season, I was defending the Ravens. People were saying, oh, the Ravens aren't as good as they say they are. I'm out here defending Baltimore. Like, the Ravens are the best bird team in the league. They're better than the Eagles. I can say that because I'm a Philly guy. But you do this good stuff all season, and then you lose to a team that we shouldn't have beat, and we did it at home. And now we have to deal with a Taylor Swift, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce Super Bowl because you can't get your, I'm going to say, stuff together. And then you got Zay Roses over here dropping a ball doing this in the red zone. I'm like, what are you doing? So it's like I'm over here looking stupid pretty much because I'm saying that
you mentioned Kelce, and you got to give Kelce credit because every time he was targeted, I mean, he made catch after catch. I mean,
great game.
And Mahomes played. I know. Listen, Mahomes is Mahomes, right? But he made throws that really hadn't seen much from Kansas City really throughout most of maybe the Buffalo game. They played well offensively, but we didn't see the Chiefs the way they kind of played in certain instances, certain spots when they had their moments. I mean, it just shows that in these spots. Go ahead, Justin.
It's called championship DNA. That's what it's called.
Go.
The Ravens don't have it. The Chiefs do. And that's what it came down to in this game. That's what it came down to against Buffalo, right? If there's one thing that we've learned, there are two quarterbacks that can beat Patrick Mahomes, and one of them's retired.
Who's going to be announcing on Fox for next season?
Who's going to be announcing on Fox. And so that leaves Joe Burrow as the lone wolf, the lone guy who could prove he could beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. And he did it by winning that AFC Championship game a couple of years ago when they eventually fell to the Rams in the Super Bowl. But, I mean,
in
Patrick
21,
Mahomes continues to do things that amaze you.
And he's not even 30 yet. You think about it, right? Not even 30. And this is his fourth Super Bowl appearance. I mean, we also talk about Brady.
He's been to 6 consecutive AFC championships. He's never not been to an AFC championship game. If Patrick Mahomes is the day one starting quarterback, the Chiefs have been in the AFC title game. And it's been an incredible run. A run that actually is starting to surpass what the Patriots and Belichick and Brady
When
did.
they have a chance,
If they win a third
Yep.
Super Bowl, I mean, you're in rarefied air here, and Patrick Mahomes is I would even say he can retire now. He's in the Hall of Fame, right?
I
He's
agree. If he
continued to
wins,
cement
he
that
wins 3 Super
legacy,
Bowls.
and he's going to start cementing the legacy of one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
Well, how
if
many
not the greatest
quarterbacks
of all
have won 3? I mean, you got, let's see, Aikman won 3.
Yep.
You got Brady. I mean,
Montana's won 4.
Montana won 4. Young technically won 3. 2 of them are as a backup.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, yeah.
Roethlisberger won 2, I think.
Big
right?
Ben won 2. Eli won 2. Peyton
Elway
won
won
2.
2.
Yeah, when you get
Elway
to
won
3,
2.
you're getting into that rare.
That was my point. It's Montana, Aikman,
Bradshaw's won 4.
Bradshaw's got 4. So who else has got the 3? I mean, I think Theismann only won 2, right? He won 2, maybe. Theismann won. No, I think one.
They had 3 different quarterbacks.
So that my point is that that was my point. I'm sure we'll talk a lot about it on Friday because I'll spend a lot more time on the game. We have to think about the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs, if they win this Super Bowl, would be the first team to repeat since the 03-04 Patriots.
Yep.
And then on top of that, win 3 Super Bowls in 5 years, and it's 4 appearances, 6 championship games in a row. You know, we have to look at all time in the major sports in the modern era. You know, you have to put them up with the great dynasties, the Patriots,
dynasty level, absolutely.
The Lakers, the Bulls in the 90s, the Spurs. You could throw the Spurs in there, LeBron and the Heat winning the back-to-back championships in the 4 finals. You know, you got the Penguins who won the back-to-back Stanley Cups. I mean, you got to think about the teams that have had in the 4 major sports. The Yankees certainly in the late 90s, early 2000s. If you want to throw the Astros in for the 2 World Series championships, I think in the 4 World Series appearances, I'll give you that. It's a stretch, but my point is that, you know, there are very few dynasties out there. And certainly really since the Bulls and Lakers and the Yankees, they're all kind of around the same era, about 20, 25 years apart. How many dynasties are we talking about? The Patriots is one. Penguins won back-to-back Stanley Cups. The Lightning won back-to-back Stanley Cups.
Yep.
You know, and who else is really out there that you could say? I mean, the Heat won the 2 championships in a row, 4 finals.
The Golden State Warriors.
And the Warriors won what? 4 championships.
They won 4 with Steve Kerr, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson.
Okay, I'll give you 4. What they have, I think 5 finals appearances in like 9 years. It's like 9.
Yeah, they only 6 because they lost to the Raptors and they lost that.
All right, so I'll throw the Warriors in there because they do have back-to-back championships in that run. So yeah, okay.
And most recently, 2022, they won.
Yeah, I'll give you. Okay, so I'll give you the Warriors. Okay, so that's. But I just named off very few dynasties since that run of the Bulls in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yankees 96 to 2000, and then a couple of World Series appearances afterwards, and then the Lakers had their 3 championship in a row, and they had I think a few more in the next decade. But that's it. So the Chiefs have an opportunity. We got to throw them in there. I mean, you agree, Ron? I see you about to jump in. What do you say, Ron? They got 3 Super Bowls in 5 years. You can't tell me it ain't a dynasty. You got 4 Super Bowl appearances, 6 championship games. You know.
No, it is impressive. It's like, you know, the old Chiefs are the new Patriots pretty much. It's just they don't cheat like the Patriots did. But you know, that whole Deflategate thing is the reason why I can't stand Tom Brady. But I mean, that was years ago, so I guess I could let it go.
He won a couple after that, so you can't discount Brady. But I think that the point is, and I'm sure we'll speak a lot about this on next Friday's show, is that the Chiefs have a chance really to, you know, punch their ticket. Maybe we'll talk about Andy Reid and you know, how long does Andy Reid coach if he wins? You know, I mean, you know, what left to be proved with him? I mean, does Spagnuolo ever get a job again, a head coaching job? I mean, he had the run with the Rams was terrible, but you know, look at the job that he did with the Chiefs this year. Does he come back and maybe somebody take a look at him? Not going to be this year certainly because there's really nothing open.
He hasn't gotten some interviews already. I know he did bad with the Rams, but the Rams were a bad team when he took them over.
Very bad team, yeah.
Right. It's not like he was, you know, he took over a good team. So I'm surprised. And there's been rumors that Reid might retire, especially if they win another Super Bowl.
That was my point. You know, you think about Reid, you know,
who would take over though?
I can't. You know what? I can't see him retiring.
I definitely wouldn't. You know, if you got Mahomes here, no, I wouldn't.
But did anybody see
to me,
Saban retire in
prime.
Alabama? Listen, I mean, Saban left in Alabama.
But if Reed
different
wins
situation.
if he wins another Super Bowl, I don't
Saban,
see
you
him
can see why with
retiring.
the NIL deals, and he's not really be able to keep up
Different
with all that.
situation, yeah.
Andy Reid's got Patrick Mahomes at his peak. I could see him sticking around as long as he can, as long as he can.
Yeah, why
As long
wouldn't
as he
he?
physically can coach, I think he's gonna try to stay throughout Pat's prime.
Well, I think my point is that he's not even 30, and we know that the age of somebody's prime is about 31, 32. So that means that Mahomes has got at least 3 more years till he actually reaches his peak. And and after that, we know quarterbacks in the NFL can go until we've seen
Mahomes
Brady.
If Mahomes has another 6-7 years that he's just had, you're going to put him up there with Brady.
We just talked about.
I guess what? Andy Reid's going to be blown by the wins record.
Yeah.
Maybe 12 games a year.
Well, you got to think about it, right? And obviously, we'll move on to the closing thoughts in a second. But you think about it, we just rattled off the quarterbacks that have technically as starters, right? Won 3 Super Bowls. Bradshaw got 4, right? Bradshaw's great, but his career stats, you look at them and say, not impressive, but he's there. Montana is certainly the first of the kind of modern quarterbacks. Got the 3. Definitely Montana's there. No question about it. Yeah. Troy Aikman, Troy Aikman was a great quarterback, but statistically probably not as impressive as what in today's modern era. He's got 3. And you got Brady. And then there's nobody else, right, that has won 3 Super Bowls as a starting quarterback, if I'm not mistaken, right? I mean, there's not many of us that won 3. I'm pretty sure, right? So that's it. And Mahomes has a chance to join that class. So that would have to put Mahomes already in the Hall of Fame even now.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. But what I'm talking about is this guy's going to be in the Tom Brady discussion as the greatest of all time. If he has enough, if his career goes anything like what his first, this is his 6th year, right, as a starter. If it goes anything like this for his next 6 to 10 years, he's going to blow by everybody's yards, everybody's touchdowns, and he's going to be up there with Brady, and you're going to be comparing him to Tom Brady because that's going to be his only comparison.
And I think you look at his first 6 years versus Brady's first 6 years, Mahomes has got a head start. Statistically, he's got a head start. I mean, because Brady really statistically didn't have the crazy numbers, if I'm not mistaken, until
No, they were more defensive laden in the first 3 Super Bowls.
That's my point.
And both both didn't play the first year, so 2000 and Mahomes' first year. Brady and Mahomes didn't play, right? Year 2 is when they took over.
And that was still a different NFL 20 years ago. It was not without the crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very different NFL.
And you think about the guys. And think about the guys on that defense with Teddy Bruschi, Mike Vrabel, Tyler Lawyer, Malloy. I mean, the Patriots.
Willie McGinnis, right, was on that team too.
Richard Seymour.
Yep.
I mean, you think about the guys on that New England defense. They were, and listen, they went up against the greatest show on turf in that Super Bowl against St. Louis, right? Yep. So they really had to do. I mean,
and they were underdogs. They were big underdogs.
They were big underdogs. And think back to the closing minutes of that game too. The legendary John Madden.
Yes.
The Patriots get the ball back with like 1:30 to go. And Madden's talking about how you got this young quarterback. You might want to just take it to overtime. No, Brady goes right down the field and sets up for that Vinatieri field goal. So I mean, he still had to do it in the big moment, but those Patriot teams early on definitely had a top tier defense, and that really, I think, catapulted Brady a little bit more than because to me this is the best defense Mahomes has ever had.
Oh,
that's going to be.
We spoke about I was
and you got to give Vinatieri credit too. Early on because he kicked 2 game-winning field goals, right?
Against Carolina as well as time expired.
But I would even make the point. I see you want to jump in, Ron, in a second that. This Kansas City team, should they win, it's really, I think that the biggest story of the prior wins compared to them is because this was a team on Christmas that lost at home to the Raiders. To Ron's team in Green Bay, lost on Sunday night. This was a very average Kansas going into this offseason. In some ways, it reminds me of
vulnerable.
It reminds me a little bit the way of the 2000 Yankees. The 2000 Yankees, they went into the you went into the postseason, kind of stumbled. They struggled a bit, and they lost their last 13 games to end the season. They kind of they won the division, but because they had so much ground, they held on and won. But you weren't looking at them as impressive. But then in the postseason, they kind of turned it on. They were able to find ways to win. And this Chiefs team, in a lot of ways, was able to find ways to go into Buffalo. That's a really red hot Buffalo team, and then go into Baltimore, the most, dominant team there was, and it's supposed to be a foregone conclusion. They went in there and won. And, and if they get past San Francisco, and San Francisco's been the other juggernaut in the league, and it's a rematch, technically, although I don't know if it's a rematch, but it's technically a rematch. But, they would be able to.
They only played 4 years ago.
Yeah, but, but the point is that this would really be, I think, kind of in a way compared to the other championships they won, really maybe the most special one. And you were going to say something, Ron, before I move on to close with you. Something else you were going to jump on, Ron? Go ahead.
You may not like it, you might love it, but me personally, I'm not really for the Chiefs, but
a lot of people are. People listen.
Yeah.
A lot of people aren't, because people are tired of Taylor Swift. They're tired of the pictures. They were tired of them kissing. And listen, that's people's rights. Obviously, I don't really know. I know her music. I mean, guys, I don't want to say
what's on. They had a report on it real quick about her.
Yeah.
They showed her for 44 seconds for the whole game, the last game. 44 seconds.
I know, but people even for the 44 seconds get sick of it. They get sick.
I think it's more social media making it bigger than what it is. So I think people gotta just
because everything goes viral and they put everything online. Now it's getting
right. It's kind of stupid.
I think it's also people are getting tired. Maybe you're getting tired of her, and we see with pop stars all the time. But you want to say something else, Ron? Go ahead.
I think it's still impressive that Mahomes last 5 years, I think he's gone to the Super Bowl 4 times.
Yep.
And I still think he has some more time to go before he's in the GOAT conversation. And but I will say I still am going for the Niners, only because it's it's the Chiefs. But for me, if whoever wins, they win and they get another ring. And I'm waiting for next season to pop up. But so whoever wins.
Well, I mean, I think people are going to miss football. It's, going to be, certainly sad for a lot of people. I overheard people saying, oh, well, now I'm going to not have any Sundays back until September. Now I have to spend time with my wife or my girlfriend, and I have to go, now and do things I didn't want to do. I don't go that far with it, but there are people out there that, certainly, think about it. But, well, listen, my life is on Sportswire these days. So, I mean, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on it, but fortunately, the people seem to like it because we have a lot of subscribers in the world. That's kind of what I do. But obviously, look, we're gonna miss football for sure. We're gonna miss it. I don't know if I'll talk about the UFL in a couple weeks. We'll see. I don't know if I'm really that interested in it, but that's gonna take. Yeah, I think I've tried before with the Alliance Football League and the XFL and the USFL, and we'll try this UFL. I don't know, but yeah, it's gonna be tough. Listen, from February to September. But look, baseball comes back, and we'll have a lot of baseball talk about, certainly. The baseball banter, and the Talking Rivals and the Pinstripe Chronicles, our anchor shows. They're going to be happy. I want to say hello to somebody before we get to closing thoughts here. And also my buddy Steven Saperstein, who's actually up, who was at the New York Knicks game yesterday. And I'm surprised you're up, Steven. It's like 12:14. Isn't your bedtime like 10 o'clock or 9:30? Last time I saw you, it was like 9 o'clock and it was bedtime for you. But yes, The Rock has a new league, the UFL. And I guess we'll talk about it in a couple of weeks, but these guys are kind of groaning. I mean, I'm sure I'll bring it up because I'm a wrestling station, but also thank you, Steven, for subscribing to our channel, because we have over 500 plus subscribers now, and I hit 4,000 hits in like 30 days. And you were definitely a big part of that. But is that really you in the picture? And he tells me to give it a shot. Well, I guess, I might give it a shot. I don't know what else am I going to really do Sundays, because baseball is the end of March. So that means I got six more weeks, so 6 Sundays in between. So yeah, what else am I going to watch? I don't know. The Knicks are a hot topic, I suppose. He was at the Knicks game. He's an important person, not as important as me. Nets are kind of slumping, so it sucks for us Net fans. Yeah. But the Knicks are there. I don't know, maybe the movies, the Oscars, but yeah, we'll have to find out. I guess you tell me, Steve, and you tell me. I'm surprised you're up still, but obviously, thank you for your support. But also, I say hello to our friend Jules, who says that Steven's hilarious. Well, I don't know what he said. The UFL people are going to watch it. But okay, fair enough. Let's get to closing thoughts. My voice is really dry right now because I was on the air for 2.5 hours, Stephen, before this, and I did an interview with a wrestler. You should probably check it out, Stephen. You love that one. His name was Brad Coleman, and he basically shot on like a few British wrestlers, and they were messaging me on Facebook like, why did you have this guy on? You would love it. But Stephen wants to tell us the Garden was rocking like Sportzwire. Well, you know what? Real quick, we had 31 people on YouTube. On my first show, we had 31 people that were live almost throughout the entire show. We had like 24 people like for 2 hours straight. I must have had like 400 comments. So yeah, the Garden was rocking the first show with the Brad Coleman one. Then we had a show with Chris Levitt. I think we had like 34 people on YouTube. So those shows, certain shows are starting to rock on Sportswire. But obviously, thank you for that kind words. And thank you for supporting us, Steve. Steve's always been supporting us out there in Brooklyn. And we love Brooklyn, of course. Brooklyn is our home, Kings County. So let me go to closing thoughts. Rob Maraska, I'm going with you. Obviously, anything else you want to plug, share, or say, and the floor is most certainly yours. And hopefully your comments will be as hardcore as the return, potentially, of Mick Foley, a.k.a. Mankind, who wants to do a death match at the age of 60. I have no idea why he wants to do that, but apparently that's kind of the word out there in the wrestling world. But, Rob, hopefully you won't be doing any death matches because maybe you might want to have one more match in the ring. But until then, I give you closing thoughts and fire away.
Yeah. Thanks, Tom. Once again, congratulations, Justin, for joining us in the Sportswire Hall of Fame. Well deserved. Looking forward to spring training. Looking forward to the Super Bowl. It's funny talking about Taylor Swift for a minute. Another
be careful.
big thing.
Steven's a big Taylor Swift fan. He's always looking at Taylor Swift, Steven. He loves Steven Saperstein loves Taylor Swift.
They were worried if she was going to get back in time from Japan for the Super Bowl. So the Japanese embassy says not to worry about it. They're going to, get her through the customs and everything fast.
Oh, wow.
Jet there, And yeah, she was only on. God. Like Chris said, she was only on for about 45 seconds, what I read. So, really, it seemed like a lot more than that.
Well, everybody saw the kiss, and she embraced him, and they were all,
But they didn't say anything about Kelsey's mom last year in the Super Bowl. We've seen her all week, right? Because, both her sons are in the Super Bowl. They showed her at the end, during the game, blah, 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 blah. Nobody had a problem with that. Why Taylor Swift?
Well, also,
Taylor Swift's a little prettier than Kelsey's mom. I'm just
listen. There was a famous wrestler named used to be Mandy Rose, and she was saying that the relationship was contrived between Kelsey and Swift. I don't know. I have no idea. I only know
if it is, who cares?
I was going to say that was my point. Somebody asked me that, and I think Steve.
Good for Kelsey if it is.
Yeah, but listen, I would say that listen, nobody talks, but not for nothing. Nobody talks about Josh Allen's girlfriend, Haley Steinfeld, who I actually think is a lot more prettier than Taylor Swift. But that's certainly for different reasons. But it's Taylor Swift.
She's a superhero, so
I actually like her. She was in Spider-Man. I actually am a fan of Haley Steinfeld more. But before I let you finish, Rob, I want to say hello to Trinity Parker, who's going to be in our Hall of Fame 3 weeks from Sunday. On her birthday. All these folks getting butthurt over Taylor Swift are a bunch of silly geese. Isn't it geese season, by the way? Isn't like the geese kind of flying north right now, right? Or something like that? Isn't it geese season coming up? So that's a good way to think. But anything else, Rob, you want to say? Finish out for the
no, just like I said, we had a lot of hits on the clips that you put up last week. So
I appreciate that.
Cool. Yeah, a lot of people are listening to these clips, so I'm really happy about that. Over 6,000 for the Royal one, and I think about 5,000 for the other one. So that was definitely good. You could get in touch with me on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, at R Maraska, and on Facebook, Rob Maraska, and I'm old, so I got to go get some oxygen right now.
All right, so if you got to go get some oxygen, I won't keep you. I'll let you go.
Good show, guys.
Thank you, Rob. We'll let you go. We'll see you next Friday.
Good night,
Okay, if you
Rob.
want to stay, we'll stay for a few more minutes. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you,
I'll
Rob.
stay. I was only joking.
You can follow. Well, you know,
He's gonna
Bobby
clean
Patch
off
would
his-
probably.
He's
Bobby
gonna clean off
Patch
his
would need it.
Lions Super Bowl pennant.
Well, you know, Bobby Tats would definitely need it. Bobby, I love Bobby, but Bobby would need it. But you can follow Rob at R. Maraska, and Jules wants to say good night, Rob. And one man called Swift a gold digger for her man's money. Oh, honey, LOL. That's, you know, yeah, I guess you could say maybe Kelsey is the gold digger. I hadn't thought about that.
Kelsey might be. I don't. Yeah, Taylor
You know
Swift
what?
is not a gold digger.
That's a
No,
good
She's
point.
got
Yeah,
more
no,
money
no.
than Kelsey.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's certainly a good point. I don't think Taylor Swift is the gold digger. I think it's
No,
Kelsey
I
would be
don't
the
think
gold
so.
digger. Yeah, that's a good point. You know, usually it's the other way around. But great stuff there. We'll try to follow
Get
that
a
up.
little higher.
Ron, I'm going to let you go to closing thoughts before I go to Chris and our new Hall of Famer Justin last. But anything, Ron, you want to say? And the floor is yours. Be my guest.
I'll keep it a little bit short so my phone doesn't die while I'm talking. It's always good being here with you guys, talking football and everything. NASCAR is coming up, so this Sunday I'll be
2 weeks
watching the
from now,
Clash, of course, and then Daytona 500 on the 18th. So, after wrestling, that's my other favorite sport that I love, and I'll be rooting for my boy Kyle Busch. Hopefully, he gets that championship. And we're on the road to WrestleMania. I'm not waking up 6 o'clock in the morning for Elimination Chamber, even for Rhea Ripley. I'm sorry, mommy, but I'm not doing it.
Well, there's a lot of guys that will make up to Rhea Ripley, but I understand.
And if you want to, follow me on Instagram, it's at ron.frm215. I'm always active on there, posting random stuff or football, NASCAR, or even wrestling stuff.
Yeah, I try to like some of your posts. I do. I try to like them.
And I'm usually active on there. My DMs are always open. Or if I'm at work, then it's usually slow. But it's always good talking with you guys on the show every Friday. I'm honored to, still honored to replace the
brute force.
the self-proclaimed coach.
Well, the brute force, yes, the coach. Yes, he's a coach, but certainly he leveled up, but he certainly doesn't level up anymore in Sportswire. Yes, you've replaced him. He leveled down the brute force. We leveled up. We got you instead of the brute force. Yep, correct.
Yeah, and also, hopefully, it's a long road to football. So other than football, I'm still gonna be representing Green Bay all day, and during that, I'll be representing Kyle Busch too. So other than that, go Pack, go, and that's about it.
I like it, Ron. Good stuff. And I promise you it won't be too far away because it'll be quicker than a New York minute. That football season will be back. Everybody will be talking about training camp. Everybody will be getting ready for September. And it's not that far away because once we go into like April, May, time flies. I promise you. And February is a lot better than January. March will be a lot better than February, and so on and so on. So we're going to get there. And you can even see it now. It's 5:30. It's lighting until 5:30. So we're getting there. February, good stuff.
And Tom, if you do need something to watch on the 18th, if you want to, I can suggest watching the Daytona 500. I believe it's at 2 o'clock.
I saw the
or
commercial
3 o'clock.
doing SmackDown. Yep.
Yeah, so it's always something if you're bored on a Sunday. It's a great
I can
sport.
promise you I'll
Even
be
though
on Sportswire. I don't think I'm ever bored, as I'm usually on Sportswire. So I have a request of people throughout the door. So I'll put it on the TV for you, Ron. Thank you, my friend.
Okay.
I want to move on in the interest of time. Great stuff, great work, and we'll see you next week. And also here, so many ignorant dum-dums out there. Yeah, I'm probably one of them, right? And thank you, Rob. Also, thank you, Jules. Good evening to both of you guys. Okay, Chris, let's go to closing thoughts. Anything else you want to plug, share, say? I'm looking forward to playing the Liftoff Jets today. I'm also eventually I promise you, I'm going to get on you guys' show. Probably going to be a couple weeks, but I'm going to get on eventually to induct Storm and the other show. But until then,
just let me know.
I'll get there. I promise you. But until then, I want to give you the floor, give you some closing thoughts. I'm glad Patrick is doing better. And anything else, the floor is yours.
Yeah, no. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it, guys. Great show as always. Justin, once again, congratulations on the Hall of Fame. Definitely deserved it, without a doubt. again, with baseball, we're kind of waiting for all these big names to come off the board, but they're
my
still
God.
there. It's ridiculous.
At least we got Corbin Burns to talk about.
Yeah. So, but yeah, me and Patrick and myself will cover it for sure. The Baltimore news, the new owners, everything, Burns, and what's next for them as well. And and keep trying with the Yankees and the Red Sox if anything goes on. Actually, Red Sox, you got what's his name, Epstein, back with them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Good point.
Part of the ownership group this time.
Yeah. So that's an interesting. That can only be a positive thing for them at this point. But yeah, we'll be covering that probably Monday or Tuesday, and then Sharman and I with the Liftoff Jets will be previewing the Super Bowl. We'll get into it, and that'll be that. Just remember, you could catch me on Twitter, CP7NY, as well as Threads and Instagram.
Yeah, I try to keep up with Threads. I do Threads a little bit.
I try to go back and forth.
Yeah, I'm on Threads a little bit. I do a little bit of Thread.
Yeah. So, and you can follow us, Liftoff Jets, and also at Talking Rivals as well.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to it. I really enjoyed the Talking Rivals show this past week at the Liftoff Jets. I got a chance to listen to last week a couple of times because I was live a lot as usual, and I enjoyed that. So great stuff there. And Ethan says, thank you, Tom, for these amazing podcasts. Yes, Ethan was with me earlier today when, again, we had, oh my God, we had through the roof with the amount of people. And Trinity says, good night. Thank you, Trinity. I'll see you in 3 weeks on your birthday to be in the Hall of Fame. Our first female, by the way, Trinity, going to be our first female in the Hall of Fame. She's also going to be our first ring announcer in the Hall of Fame. Pretty cool to have a ring announcer and our first female. We need to have a female. And we've got Trinity, I think, is the perfect person. Everything she's done in her career.
What about the girls from the Pinstripe? Pinstripe.
I'm gonna get them in. I just can't get on their podcast right now. They're gonna get in. Yes, Chris and Lynn are gonna get in. Lynn. I just can't. I can't get on. I have like 17 requests to do podcasts. I was telling the story yesterday on the air. People ask me to do podcasts like every day, and I'm like, I can't do it. I can barely do my Sportzwire shows. So it's
I can imagine.
I definitely get them. I've done like 105 shows in like 82 days. It's a nutty number. Yeah. The people want to talk. That's why I read it off. We have almost 10,000 views in 90 days. Almost 10,000.
Wow.
Almost 10,000 views on YouTube. Just YouTube alone. That's not counting sportsbyradio.org. That's not counting the clips on Facebook, Instagram. That tells you that the people, they want to come on
That's all Tom.
Sportswire.
That's all you, Tom.
Well, that's the people. But and we have Danny Burns on Monday, the guy who played in the NCAA Final Four in our Hall of Fame. So enough about that. The man who is in our Hall of Fame, our newest one, Justin Gianelli, going to give you the floor. You're our closing thoughts for the evening. And I want to give you the floor. Congratulations again. Thank you for your hard work over the years. I'm glad to be able to recognize you. And I've turned over to you, and the floor is yours.
Tom, once again, thank you so much for this honor. I am definitely humbled and appreciative of being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Rob, Chris, another great show. Listen, I'm looking forward to the Super Bowl. I'm looking forward to seeing the legacy of Patrick Mahomes, or if Kyle Shanahan can finally get that first Super Bowl title as a head coach. I know he still probably loses sleep over the Falcons-Patriots Super Bowl when he was the offensive coordinator. And also, too, I mean, the 49ers, just the stacked roster, at some point they got to win a title, right? Last year was kind of the first foray with the trio. And Purdy obviously gets hurt in the NFC title game against Philadelphia, and they end up losing. Now this year they get back to the Super Bowl, where they were just 4 years ago when they lost to these same Chiefs. And Kyle Shanahan needs to take that next step. His father won a couple of Super Bowls, towards the end with Elway, and now here comes Kyle Shanahan in his second Super Bowl as head coach. And speaking of head coaches, we see the final names of all the spots being filled, and there's no more head coaching vacancies. We saw Mike McDonald get the Seattle job, and Dan Quinn got the Washington Commanders job. And I think an interesting trend was 5 of the 8 coaches this year hired have a defensive background. You're not really going for the young, hot shot offensive coordinator. Tennessee kind of did that. You hired Brian Callahan, who, by the way, hired his father to be the
I saw that you posted that.
line coach, Bill Callahan. And I think that's a great hire for Tennessee. Obviously, the Chargers, match made in heaven. We talked about it. Jim Harbaugh, Justin Herbert. That's just a great move. And speaking of coaches, how about this? So Raheem Morris takes the Falcons job and leaves as the defensive coordinator of the LA Rams. Well, Sean McVay promotes Chris Shula, the grandson of Don Shula, to be the new defensive coordinator. And so I think that's great for him. That's great for the family. Maybe he's the next Shula to be a head coach at some point. I mean, clearly guys are always getting picked off of the McVay tree, to become head coaches, the Shanahan tree. And I think with guys like Bill Belichick and Mike Vrabel and Pete Carroll not getting hired this cycle, I think for Carroll and Belichick, I think it might spell the end. We might never see those guys coach again in this league. Vrabel, I think at 48 years old, I'm more certain, especially if a Dallas or a Philly opens up next year, or hell, the Jets or the Giants. If certain jobs open up, I think Vrabel will be top of list. I can't say that for certain with Bill Belichick or even Pete Carroll, even though Pete Carroll seems like he's desperate to get back into coaching. He really didn't
is a number,
Yeah, he really didn't want to leave Seattle, and he kind of made that known that it was not a mutual parting of the ways. They pushed him out the door, but we'll see what's going on with these coaches next year. But internally, the Jets, I mean, they're a freaking mess. I don't even want to dive into that Athletic article. Mm-hmm. Robert Saleh taking coaches' phones and to try to dispel the leaks. I don't know what the hell's going on with that franchise, but all I know is figure it out. Make the playoffs next year.
That's it. Listen, as Al Davis used to say, just win, baby, and the Jets better just win, but at least we don't have to talk about that for a while until the draft. But definitely, Justin, you can be followed on Instagram and Twitter. I think JGNLE12, JGNLE91.
Yep.
And want people to follow him and congratulate him on being our 29th member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. And we conclude our third class today with Sean Jovi, the resident rock star. So I'm looking forward to that. Obviously, Chris and Rob are also Hall of Famers.
Rob will like this reference, the number 29, the Rod Carew induction.
Well, you know what? You've had a pretty solid run, I think, here on Sportswire, basically through half our 5-year history. So I think that's a good number. I think it's good to be here now before the numbers get bigger and bigger, because they're going to get really bigger in a couple of months. But definitely, I'm very happy to have inducted all of you guys. You guys have been great, and I like to recognize those that have certainly been there through thick and thin, and you guys have definitely done that. But ladies and gentlemen, this was tonight's Friday night into Saturday morning Sportswire radio show. We were joined with Chris Bizet, host of the Talking Rivals and the Liftoff Jets. Follow him, Talking Rivals, Liftoff Jets on Twitter and Threads. Rob Maraska, R. Maraska on Twitter, longest tenured analyst Facebook, Rob Maraska. Justin Gianelli, host of the Baseball Banter, B-Ball Banter SM on Twitter. JGNelly12 and JGNelly91 on Instagram and Twitter. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, where all wrestling matters here on Sportswire Radio. And we'll be back here at 10 o'clock Eastern Time with Sean Jovi, the resident rock star. And thank you to Randy Dillon and our coach Chris Craven for opening up our show, and Brad Coleman for starting the day. But until then, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the number one